Chidima, could you tell us a bit about our speaker for today?
Okay, so this speaker is someone I find, in fact, he's intriguing. Let me use the word.
Oh, okay.
So our speaker for today was born here in Lagos, had his undergraduate years here. He moved to the UK.
UK.
Yes.
UK.
And got a PhD in electrical and electronics engineering.
Correct.
So in other words, he's a Dr. ABC. However, instead of Dr. ABC, he took up Pastor ABC. And this speaker met his bae, and he fell in love with his bae a few years later.
And you know what?
What?
I also know that while living in the UK, even though they were both Christians, they saw how the gospel radically changed their lives. And this gave them a renewal and an experience that compelled them to see how the city of Lagos can be radically changed by the gospel. So as a result of that, they moved back from the UK to Lagos, where they planted a church in Lekki here. Apart from his work in the church, he's had the privilege of speaking in other churches and going to conferences outside. But you'll be wondering, is he married? So Chidima, could you tell us if he's married?
Of course, he's not just a pastor. He's not just a PhD holder. He's a husband for about 11 years.
Okay.
And he's also a father.
To how many children?
To 2 amazing boys.
Wow.
Please.
Let's jam our hands together.
Jam our hands together as we
welcome
call upon the lead pastor of City Church, Pastor Femi Oshuni, PF.
Thank you for that introduction. I'm very humbled, a humble servant. All glory be to God. Can we just sing to the Lord, It's all for you, Jesus. It's all. But that PhD was really hard. It was hard. All right, welcome everyone to this event. As I said, my name is Femi Oshuni, and I'm happy if you are here. I do want to say that I am a proud member of the No Be Beans Club. Right? No Be Beans Club. I have also been a member of the Awi Beep Club, right? And I was also a member of the Never. But it was there that I was seeing. No? It was in that 0 to 5 that we were seeing. It's not the Never we were seeing in that 0 to 5. So I do firmly believe that sex isn't overrated. It's not overrated. It's not overrated. Carry on, round of applause. Round of applause for yourself, please. And I used to subscribe to putting on my ring all the time. I strongly agreed. Then my weight changed. And then the thing was getting stuck. And so some of these things, you have to be careful with your firm approach on something, because your body isn't always as firm as you were when you started. But again, I want to welcome us, those who are married and those who are not married. I want to welcome those who are married, because how did we make it through 2020? How many of you went back to your marriage counseling manuals and they told you, oh, by the way, here's how you get through 5 months of lockdown with your spouse within a pandemic? Honestly, you thought I was so scared. I was always scared about phone calls. Like someone just say, I've killed my wife. I have killed her. It can't. You tell me how I would. So congratulations to yourself for those who are married before then and you are still married now. Round of applause to you. No, but thank God, marriages have been tested in different ways. Really, and I seriously mean it. The pandemic was one thing that really tested us, and with how it took us to other levels, in our marriage. And I do want to say this: being married, and for those watching as well, whether you're watching from Lagos or not, we welcome you. And whether you're single or married, welcome you as well. Being married in Lagos, though, I should say, is, on the one hand, it's not unique. On the other hand, it's unique. It's not unique because, marriage is marriage. Whether it's married in biblical times, whether you are in the US, whether you are in Somalia, whether you are in Kaduna, marriage is marriage, isn't it? But not everywhere is Lagos. Not everywhere is Lagos. You see, in Lagos, married in Lagos, it has its unique challenges. It's because of something I call the vicious Lasgidi cycle. You do know what that is? If I were to explain it, for instance, I often like to tell people, when you are driving in Lagos traffic and, somebody's just honking and trying to, and then next thing you're like, Akilonle, what's pushing you now? Cool down. And I always tell people, don't do that. It's wrong. Because you don't know what's pushing that person. You don't know whether the person, let's call it what it is, the person is pressed to do number 2. Now, you laugh until you are there, you have had the experience. So when I'm telling you don't, 20-something years ago on campus, I understood the experience and I became empathetic. And in the same vein, when people are nasty to you at customer service, don't just immediately spark back. You don't know what has happened to them in their homes, in their marriage. Do you understand? Sometimes, a customer service person is doing you one kind, you'll be like, is it the same thing we're talking about? Or is it, you don't know what has happened to them at home. And in the same vein, if you're that customer service person, when you go home, if you are married to that customer service person, when they are nasty to you at home, you don't know why. It may be one person that they spoke to at work. In other words, chicken or the egg, which one came first? Is it the person that was being nasty at the customer service or is it the marriage? And you find this in Lagos because the pressures are unique. Whether it is the traffic that we face, thank God a lot of us are doing hybrid, what do you call it now? Hybrid work now and all that. That's solving our marriage problems. Whether it is just our uniqueness in constructing abuses for the other person, whether it is the fact that our children, because our houses are smaller than most places and we don't have backyards and our children are putting pressure on marriage in Lagos is unique. I don't want to say it's hard, but it's unique. That's why we put up this event and called it unique, specifically Married in Lagos. We want to serve marriages, particularly within the context of Lagos, but broadly as well. But we want to do it from the standpoint of the designer of marriage. And who is the designer of marriage? God. And that's why we hope that whatever you hear or whatever we're recommending is biblically based, is gospel-centered, but is also contextually relevant. And that's kind of approach that we want to take to it. I do also want to say that we want to serve singles. And by singles, I don't mean, I just mean the unmarried. So whether you are dating, whether you are intending to, you are, what's that word? You are engaged, or maybe you just intend on being married. I want to say that the best time for you to be prepared, the best way of you preparing for marriage, or one of the better ways for you preparing marriage, is actually hearing from married people and seeing how, marriage develops over a period of time. That's why we've also asked for singles to be here. I know a lot of them are watching as well. Now, I am excited for this year's theme, which we've phrased in a question. Thinking about questions. Have you ever been asked a question about a deed that has already been done that you cannot change? You ask a question about a deed that has already been done and you cannot change. The kind that makes you respond with, huh? Typical example is this. So you come around, you say, help me, oh, I'm looking for my keys. And what's the question you hear? Where did you? To which I always want to say, it's just that you can't say it. I always want to say something like, shush, I don't know. Maybe it got lost inside the vast space that is within your empty head. What kind of question is that? And I can't forget in the ad, when they asked, they said, why are you married? And Kemi is like, huh? It's like, see, we have been in this no beans club for how long? After the marriage has been done, you are now still asking me, why are you married? And yet, the answer to that question, because it's not like misplacing your keys, the answer to that question, I think even asking that, going over that, the answer to that question over the years in our marriage is absolutely essential if you actually want to live out what a good marriage is. Now, the truth is that all of us we have an answer to why we are married. We do. whether we've articulated it or not, it's impossible for you to live out that marriage without some kind of purpose. Now, the problem here is this, or the more important question is this: you do have a purpose to your marriage. Is it the right one? And if it's not the right one, how can you discover the right one? And that's what we want to talk about today. Because I really do believe, again, I don't know where your marriage is at, but I do believe that as we discover what the true purpose for our marriage is, that our marriages, if they are in difficult circumstances, that God can heal those marriages. I really do believe that for those of us who are on the cusp of being married, if you have this question rightly answered, you can be set up for the platform for a good and flourishing marriage. And for those of us who, I would say that your marriages are already good, your marriages are okay, well, you can strengthen those marriages as well, amen? And so that's what I'm praying today, that in one way or the other, God will move among us, and as we answer that question, that our marriages will be better, or the marriages we intend to have will be better. Okay, so let's go. I hope this talk shouldn't be long. When the preacher says that, you wonder what does that mean? But honestly, this one shouldn't be. All right, let's start. So, which one of you doesn't want to be happy in life? If you don't want to be happy in life, hands up. Yeah, right? Yeah, that's good. We have same people here. Because I thought some people were going, I thought I saw somebody trying to move up their hands. And like, maybe the question is not, is a little bit unnuanced, And I'm not talking about those who feel like happiness is an illusion. There are some people that feel like that, right? Or some who they are not happy because they see other people are happy, right? There are people like that. There are those who actually just do things in life that will not make them happy. Now, it's not whether or not we are not happy. The issue is this: I don't think I've met anyone who will clearly articulate and say, I don't want to be happy. I've never met anyone like that. And yet, many of us are unhappy. And part of the reason we are unhappy, for those of us who are married, is largely, many times, our marriage is the one that is contributing to our unhappiness. And here is the approach we normally take in trying to fix the happiness in our lives. We feel this: if I fix my marriage, if I fix the problems in my marriage, I will fix my marriage. And if I fix my marriage, I'll fix my life, I'll become happy. That seems very simple. Fix the problems in my marriage, fix my marriage. Fix my marriage, fix the happiness in my life. But can I say that sometimes focusing on our problems, in trying to fix our problems, is the thing that actually makes the problems multiply? That sometimes I want to offer a different strategy of trying to fix this issue in our marriage, that sometimes it is not focusing on the problems that will help us. There is a different strategy. And that's why I want us to look at this I'm not reading many passages today, but the big one, surprise, surprise, is a marriage passage that we all know, Galatians. Genesis chapter 1, verse 27 to 28. We've already finished preaching Galatians. How many more Galatians? Genesis 1, 27, 28. Genesis 1, 27, 28, which we all know. So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it. Rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, and over every living creature that moves on the ground. Did you notice what it says there about how God created marriages? He said that the marriages should be fruitful and they should multiply. That when God created marriage, he says marriages should be what? Should be multiplicative. What does that mean? Well, in order to make that clearer, maybe let's do something. Some of us have children here in school. If you have children in school, raise up your hand. Children in school, daycare, something, all right. And when last did you see your children's report? For those of you that check it. And when last did you tell your child, you're not like me, when you're like your father or something like that? So obviously we like to see ourselves as brilliant people and all of that. I have a quiz for us. I have a quiz. All right? Don't put it up, oh. Okay, I have a quiz for us. Now, in this quiz, just give me the answer, and a special prize awaits the person that gets, the first person to get the answer here. I didn't say the first person to answer. I said the first person to get the answer. In this quiz, don't use any calculator. You can't use calculator. Put your phones away. Let me just see. Because some of you that you're telling your children you are better than them. You are better at cheating than them. That's what you are. Now, a simple equation, put it up. What's the answer? What's the answer? What's the answer? Don't think out loud. I want to hear who's going to get it. Answer. 34. So say it. 27. 0. Zero. Your answer is 0. Your processing is 0. 32, 24. I've not said what the answer is. 32, 24.
62.
Who says 62? 60, but I don't know who came first. I think it was praise. But that it's Falabi. All right, let the wives come and fight. Chineye and so the answer is what? 62.
No.
Okay, what's the answer? What's the answer? Then let's allow him. You are representing Mother Keke here. Now, the answer is 62. Now, for those of you who say, hey, how can those ones that said 34? No, you didn't answer. You didn't say anything. At least they were brave enough. Now, when we looked at that thing, school don't tell me. It's like, hi. When we looked at it, here's what I know. By the way, where's praise? Praise. No, I think praise said it first. Praise, come for the prize. Let's whatever. No, go that way. Don't. You guys, everybody laughing. This is why I'm a pastor that, no, come forward. Look at the camera. That's it. The camera. This is called a pastoral handshake. Are you? Yeah. You are blessed. I told you, it's called generosity. Out of the abundance of my heart, I just give out. So wait for the next one. We don't just give it out anywhere. There's one thing I know we were all doing. Okay, the ones that didn't skip classes in school. When you were looking at that equation, one word came to your mind, whether you got it right or not. You know what it was? BODMAS. Right? BODMAS. What does BODMAS stand for? Exactly. The fact that you know BODMAS doesn't mean that you will apply it very well. But let's just leave that there. Now, the truth about BODMAS is this. Show her very well. Even though you didn't say anything, no. You didn't say anything. She was brave. He told you. He told you the wrong answer. Hey. It was Eve that spoke to Adam the wrong thing, no. It wasn't Adam that spoke to Eve the wrong thing. You understand? And so don't reverse it. Let's not reverse. We don't teach reversible principles in this church, okay? All right? Okay. Now, back to it. Now, here's what we find with BODMAS. With BODMAS, really, you see the basic operations in mathematics. Really, the bracket and off are just ways of, they're not real operations themselves. The four basic operations in mathematics are what? Division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction. Now, permit me to expand the thinking here. In Genesis 1:28, it says that marriages should be multiplicative. But if we have to really understand what multiplicative marriages are, we have to examine other types of marriages, because there are three others in addition to the multiplicative marriages. The first are divisive marriages. Divisive marriages. What are divisive marriages? These are, quite frankly, dysfunctional marriages that end up leaving both of the individuals less of who they were in a dramatic sense. I don't know how many of you have ever met someone, or not met someone. You knew someone maybe some time back, in whether it was in secondary school, whether it was in uni, a good friend that you grew up with. Time went on, 10 years after, you guys hadn't seen each other, and the next time you saw the person, spent 15 minutes with the person, you almost started crying. We often say something like this person was a pale shadow of themselves. And you find out the story and you realize when it has everything to do with their marriage. These are people who are mad, and by mad I mean MAD, where bringing them together ensures that there is mutual what? Assured destruction. That is, people where in the marriages, abuse is the norm. We're talking about sex being overrated. In these marriages, they hardly ever have sex. We are talking about marriages where sometimes adultery is being involved. And if there are children in those marriages, the children are living literally, it's just that they are not sleeping and dreaming this, they are living out a nightmare. And they cannot often stand their parents, fighting. They see it all the time. When these kids grow up, they are the kind of children that often do not have good views about marriage. They're the ones who end up delaying marriage, or they've given up on marriage altogether because of what they went through. These are marriages where the people inside the marriages quite literally want to destroy one another, quite literally hate one another. They often end up in separation, divorce, indifference, or disaster. When I say disaster, I'm not playing with it. My wife and I know someone who, and some of us even knew the story, but someone whose brother was in one of those marriages. Both sides were, playing their role, and things got so bad, that at some point, he called his sister. At this, my wife is saying she wants to kill me. And the sister said, better leave. The mother says, better leave. So how will I leave this my house for who? By the next morning, it was news spattered all around Lagos. He had been stabbed multiple times. When I say stabbed, like he was stabbed multiple times. Divisive marriages. It may not end in that kind of disaster. But when people are so divided, they are divided themselves. Oh, sorry. They are divided amongst themselves, but even internally, the division between themselves has caused division inside themselves. They end up becoming a pale shadow of who they are. Divisive marriages. Now, the next one is what we will call subtractive marriages. Subtractive marriages. These ones are not dysfunctional marriages at all. They're not dysfunctional marriages, but here's the thing, they're certainly not happy marriages. They're not happy marriages. These people they hardly do things together. Essentially, they live as singles in their marriages. What they're very good at is they do things in public together where they need to. So on the one hand, people sort of see them outside. But those close to them will tell you, no, these guys are essentially living as singles. These people, they had dates together. What dates? They don't go out together personally. They don't plan any holiday together. They don't host people together except when they are, forced to. Essentially, in these marriages, again, not dysfunctional, but they are emotionally disconnected from each other. Do they have sex? Yeah, occasionally they have sex. It's usually out of necessity or accident. Necessity sometimes, but be firewood. Like somehow, the stars just aligned. They did it, and it's like, oops, how did that happen? But the funny thing about these marriages? You can be fooled if you don't know them, because the people themselves, individually, they are actually achieving a lot on their own individually. They are able to do things. They have perfected the art of living individually. They make investments on their own. They counsel people on their own. They raise kids on their own. They go to church on their own. They eventually get settled in on happiness and learn to cope with life on their own. In those marriages, the kids are often left confused about marriage because they receive double parenting, and most often they have to become adults when they are children. They have to, somehow they start wondering, I don't want to tell mommy what daddy said there, because if I tell mommy that mommy is going to get very unhappy. So the children at age 6, 7 start knowing how to manage, almost as though they are managing their parents. When they say manage your boss, the children start learning that very quickly because they've seen that things between their parents are one kind. And also the children are left confused about marriage because they see the kind of marriage, they're left confused about marriage, and they're left, if they're in Christian homes, they're left confused about Christianity because they see the pretense in public and they know what's really happening on the inside. They can see their parents shouting and praising Jesus, and yet they're saying, but I see what's happening here. They are not dysfunctional, but neither of them is really able to be who they are truly meant to be. They are taken from themselves. So while in the divisive marriages, you say this person is a complete pale shadow of who they were, in subtractive marriages, you would see the person and say, I always thought that she could be more. I always thought that he was, I know we don't do this in Nigeria and all that. That's why I say Woods on Sunday, and some people are saying, is it Woods or Bush? But just permit me this one. They were voted most likely to succeed in their secondary school. And you'll be like, what happened to this person? And you trace it and you see, oh, there was something wrong with the marriage. Let's improve the mood in this place a little bit. Then you have additive marriages. And these marriages occasionally have issues. But here's what you know, the couple really love each other. They do. They add value to each other. So in terms of what they've achieved financially or in other things in life, they actually do together. Right? In terms of their Christianity, they are, I like going to Baptist churches for weddings. You know why? Because that's the one place I know I'm going to sing, God gave us Christian homes. Right? When you look at these people, they have that Christian home. So the Christian home, they have morning altar. And sometimes. Morning altar and devotion sometimes. So when you look at them in church. I say, what did you say? Oh, okay. Poster couple for how to be a married couple. You just see them. You see them walking together in their anko. You understand? Well ironed. The children sit down. They are praising God. They're not disturbing people up and down. You know how it is in church. Everybody is, church, may God help us. Everybody is always looking holy inside church, but the judgment inside, like, look how these children are not walking about. Where are the parents? But not Victoria and Elijah's daughter. No. Good Christian, can I just see how they love each other? They are constantly. No. That wasn't meant. That was not. No, God, you see, no. Ara is a good girl. I've seen it. No, she's a good girl. It's terrible. They're always constantly posting good birthday messages about their spouse on Instagram, on their stories, telling you about how this person is my wife is a woman of virtue, Proverbs 31, they shall arise to call you blessed. Oh, my husband is my king. He's my prophet. He's my priest. They're always selling. At some point, it becomes a little bit obnoxious. Because here is the thing about these parents. Additive couples. As good as things are. Oh, sorry, I had to say they also have healthy sex lives as well. They have healthy sex lives, I should say that. But as good as things are, you often find out that it seems more about them than anything else. These are parents who are obsessed with the achievement of their kids. The ones that are nightmares to Parent-Teachers Association, always complaining about everything because my child didn't do this, my child didn't do that. They are obsessed with the achievement of their kids. And when I say obsessed, they will let you know. You know those sort of, don't mind my son, no. I don't even know all these things you were just doing. Oxford called him. London School of Economics called him. Now he's just suffering. He doesn't even know which one to choose. These things, you know. CIS were even saying they will give a scholarship. Can you imagine? And the person dropped it like, I'm not trying to boast. It's all this thing is all to who? To the glory of God. It's really about them, not about anybody else. And you find out about these couples is that they are often very cliquey. It's about their family and that's it. I said they are good in church, but they will easily give up participation in church stuff if it affects their life in the life they have built up in any way. They can be charitable with some things as long as it doesn't come as a significant cost to the lifestyle they feel they deserve. Really, rather than being Christ-centered, in reality, they are a comfort-centered marriage with Christ at the peripheries. And yet, sadly, this is the marriage that so many people aspire towards. This is the marriage that many times is put up for us as the model Christian marriage. Now, don't get me wrong again. There are many good things about it. But can I tell you about this kind of marriage? If you are in that kind of marriage or that's the kind of marriage that you envision, your vision is too small. It's too small because the God behind that vision is too small a God. He is not the God in Genesis 1:28. There was a dating couple that I was recently talking to. And they were trying to make a significant decision post-marriage. And, thinking about where they will stay and all of those things. And I asked them, what do you guys see yourselves doing in 10 years? Let's say you are married. In 10 years' time, I asked in 10 years' time, I asked in 30 years. No, I asked also in 30 years' time. Let's say you're in your 60s. In 30 years' time, what do you guys see yourselves doing? So hopefully, they will be financially secure. Check. They'll have their children will be Christians. Check. They will have been they'll be part of a good local church. Check. They would give to a couple of things. Check. But, and they would sort of travel the world, see all of those things. Check. What's wrong with that? The vision is too small. And I told them, I said, on the one hand, that's an okay marriage, but it is so sad on the other hand. Because God has made you for a whole lot more. And many times, let me tell you the truth, is that the problems we have in our marriage is that we have settled for too little in our marriages. We have built our marriages around the vision of an additive marriage. And when we are failing to meet up with the standard of an additive marriage, that actually plunges us into what? Subtractive marriages and divisive marriages. You know why? Because God never set up an additive marriage as the vision that we should have. That is an idolatrous vision. Are you getting me? God has prepared us. God has prepared you. Whether you are married here or not, God has prepared you for more. Turn to your neighbor and say, God has prepared us for more. And the more we saw in Genesis 1:28. What is in Genesis 1:28? It's a okay. English is my second language. You to say multiplicative. Say it. In 1:28, it says that before they multiply, they should be what? Fruitful. Fruitful. And then some people say, fruitful now. right? The fruit of the... Notice that womb was not mentioned here. Meaning that the fruitfulness, yes, it will have the womb as part of it, but there are many other wombs, not just the womb of the woman, but many other wombs. I say, how do you know that? Because he said, be fruitful and multiply. It wasn't just talking about one thing, it was talking about many other things. In fact, he said, be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth, subdue it. The fruitfulness and the multiplication that they are meant to have is meant to enable them to replenish the earth and to do what? To subdue it. God wasn't bringing two people together just so that they can have babies. Because if that was the case, most of us stop having babies. By what age? Right? By what age? So, by the way, when she said that he has 2 kids, it was 2 kids and full stop. You know, some people, it's 2 kids and no. It's not. It's not beans. It's not beans. We are with that. Now, it's not just because most of us biologically we can't even have kids beyond a certain age. Is that where our fruitfulness is meant to stop? So he says, multiply. They are meant to be producing more than kids. That is not just in one section. They are meant to be producing in so many other places. These are very healthy marriages, stable, with very strong love for one another, even though they are not perfect. You see, in these marriages, it's not just that their sex is healthy. The sex is really good. Like when I say good, it's like they have very good sex. And it's not because they have read a manual. It's not, I often like to say, that's why you cannot learn. If you are trying to learn how to have good sex as married couples, don't go and watch porn. Don't watch porn. It can never. Don't just get one kind of manual. It will never, because the secret to, great sex, and you can go and listen to the message that what was that thing called? It was Christ and Sexuality series, but there was one. Sex and Family, exactly. Sex and Family. Right? There are other prerequisites that enables you for your sex to be great. The knowledge that we have in sex is the same knowledge that we have in love. Right? Adam knew his wife, but it also says Adam made love to his wife. They are experts in sex because they are experts in knowledge of one another. So the marriage is absolutely healthy. It is productive, not just with children. And sometimes, okay, how about the people that cannot have children? Does that mean they are not fruitful? No, but you first see it in their sexual life. It is wonderful. But guess what? Because it is truly love, and I like to say this thing, true love is expansive, self-love is contractive. Self-love is always trying to get people to love it, always trying to get people to do your bidding. So first of all, everything that you do is really for yourself, but you get to get other people to try to do things for you. So people who are dominated in their marriages because the other spouse is really loving themselves, and they want the other person to do everything to love them. But if you have true love is always other-centered. In other words, it's always expansive. So even though they love themselves, the love is not limited to themselves. Amen. It is in that kind of marriage you will see the children flourishing. Have you never gone to some houses? I'm not talking about where the children just feel like they are spoiled. The children look like they're happy. The children are always doting over their parents. The children want their parents. Have you not seen houses where mommy is inside that place, daddy is inside? The children are just trying to bring mommy and daddy together. Because why? That place where mommy and daddy are together, there is something that comes out of them that attracts the children. The children are never neglected. It is a multiplicative marriage. It is a fruitful marriage. Are you getting what I'm saying? But you see that we have that in the additive marriage. Exactly. In the multiplicative marriage, when it says be fruitful and multiply, these people's love is so expansive that it is not only for their household. Somehow they bring other people. Other people are touched by the love in that house. I don't want to get too theological here, but that's what we have in God. God is love. Why is God love? Because he is 3 in 1, and the members of the Trinity love each other so much, and it is the overflow of that love that created the universe. God created this universe in love. Do you understand that? It was the overflow of the love of God in the Trinity that flowed into this universe. And it's the same overflow of God in the Trinity that because the people that he created in his image fell, out of that love, he redeemed them. For God so what? Loved the world, that he gave his only begotten son. It is out of the love that was in God that came to rescue us. Are we together? And so truly, when you have that kind of other-centered, multiplicative love, it always expands towards other people. So that's why people, there's some people you go into their houses, they invite you to their house, and the love they have for each other makes you look at your wife and say, Omo, when are we going? They tell you how great their marriage is so that you know how bad your own marriage is. It's just everything is just all about them. It's just like, oh man, I just want to go. Whereas there are some people, you know them in church. It's not that when they invite you, you want to stay. No, you invite yourself over. I know some of you, I went to some people's house 2 weeks ago, and they said that some people left. I said, hey, why did you people invite them? They said, we didn't invite them, they invited themselves. Why do you want to go to those people's houses? Whereas you go to some other people's houses and be like, it's nice, so it's nice. I have to do this thing because we have to love everybody. But I don't like this situation. But it's somewhat awkward. But we'll just go. There are certain kinds of households you just love to go in there because you feel a love of God that is there. It is so attractive. Oh, may God make our marriages like this. This is what we were built for. These people are extremely generous with their resources. They're extremely generous with their time. They're extremely generous with their, resources, all of that. Now, don't make a mistake. Sometimes I said, the trick, the thing that may be deceptive here is that sometimes you may be dealing with a subtractive marriage and you think it's multiplicative. You know why? Because you are always only meeting with one person in that marriage. So they are counseling you on their own. They are giving to you on their own. That person in themselves is doing wonderful things, but that's not necessarily what that couple is doing. Are we together? And so God wants us to be that, to have that kind of marriage. The reason why it multiplies is because they are other-centered. They are not themselves-centered. So, not only do people love coming over, as I said, but they invite themselves. They invite people over and people just invite themselves. So, who doesn't want this kind of marriage? If you do say, I do want that, then how do we get this kind of marriage? Well, if you can think, what will be the difference between this marriage and actually all the other marriages? And I'll tell you what it is. Quite frankly, it's purpose. They define why, the answer to that question, why are you married, is properly defined. Look at that Genesis 1:28 again. God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and multiply, and then God commissioned them. There was a reason why they existed. Why did they exist? To subdue the earth, to replenish it. That is, God didn't just create Adam and Eve and just say, the work is done. Now, for God, in some ways, it was done. He saw them and it was very good. But for Adam and Eve, what happened? The work had just started. So, Bumi and Deji that were here, the purpose of your marriage did not happen at your wedding. Which is, sadly, again, what happens with a lot of people, right? Sadly, what happens with a lot of people is this. The way our last gate is set up, and it's getting worse and worse. Now, some people, when they're engaged, God, engagement, may God deliver also. Engagement now, I thank God for when I got married. That's what I'll say. Now there is what they call, what's that photo shoot? The pre-wedding what? Photo shoot. Hell! Isn't it just getting, it's more and more elaborate. Like before, some people just did, when my wife and I did pre-wedding photo shoot, it was for for program. You understand? They will not put you inside that circle. You understand? You don't went somewhere one night studio, just did that, up and go. But this one now is not that, oh. Is, first of all, there has to be the video for the proposal. I always wonder, how is it that the ladies are always very well dressed for the proposal? But it was always a surprise! Oh my God! How did you get? So we have a video for that one. Then after that, there's the wedding. Lekki Koi. If you don't do Lekki Koi Bridge, it's not certified. There's beach now. Which one? No, don't give me that one. Yeah, I don't. So when they now do the picture, hey God, you will see what they are wearing. And now, I don't love. But the guys have to look strong. You see the guy, he'll put his hand on his head. Boss. And you see the lady, she will look like an Olori. They will do for Yoruba one. They will do for the English one. They will use Otedola's house as a background. They will use, all of that is just for the pre-wedding photo shoot. Just pre-wedding photo shoot. 250,000. So when you've done that one, and then, you have to get the venue, get all of that, then now, you will do not baby shower. Not pregnancy shower, no. Bridal shower, that one is after. We are in church. I know you have to bridal shower, bachelor's eve, we have not got to engagement. Introduction is now what we used to call engagement. Right? Friends are now invited for. So there's introduction. I've not talked all the clothes that you have to buy. Then there's this one they now do suya night or something before. Yeah, there's a new one. Don't worry, it's coming. Then there's trad. Exactly. I hope you are saving. Then there's trad. Then there is the wedding. And then the wedding, you have to get all this makeup. The makeup that people are doing now, it was the cost of my entire wedding. You don't know my wedding. So you can understand when you are built up like that the wedding itself was the goal. And then what happens after the wedding is hey, so we are meant to be, death. Let's start with death. How are we now going to do this living thing? I hope you guys are understanding me. God created them and then brought them together and then commissioned them. Discovering the purpose is what actually the multiplication and the fruitfulness is there for. Now, let me quickly put out a word of hope there. Here, I don't care how long you've been married. If this has not been your view, God can restore your marriage today. But God wants us to build purposeful marriages. Multiplicative marriages are marriages that have a defined purpose according to what God has called you to. So how do we know, how do we build on that, those marriages? How do we build those marriages, those purposeful marriages? Well, for you to build them, listen to this, it takes discovery. You have to discover what the purpose is and development. Discovery and development. That's how you build the marriage. But you do it through a 3-step process. Prayer, processing, and practice. Prayer, process, practice. Praying, processing, and practicing. Let's quickly go through that. So let's start with the first one. Pray. And be like, so I don't like coming to church. Can you not tell me something more practical? There's nothing in this world more practical than prayer. I'm not even trying to give a ton of phrase or anything. Do you know all the forces at work inside you, outside you, all the forces that work in this world, all the different permutations of all the different things that you are not in control of this world, though. You are not even half in control of your life. I get tired, I really sick and tired of people that come, maybe they go and they travel and they do their masters or something, they go abroad for a while, and they come back and they say something like this, those people in the West, they are gone. They no longer believe in God. You know why? Because they become super rational. They are now rational. They don't feel like they need God for anything. They have all their needs met. whilst I wouldn't want to say that is totally untrue, whilst I don't want to dispute that it's not totally untrue, why I'm tired of hearing that is because in this Lagos, there are already so many people that believe like that. We've become so self-sufficient. Yes, okay, maybe you grew up in a church where prayer was something else. It was used to kill enemies. Every single thing was pray, 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 pray. Maybe you grew up in that church. Maybe. But the abuse of it doesn't invalidate its proper use. You cannot call yourself a Christian where you don't have an active prayer life. And can I tell you, in your marriage, you need prayer. To say, I just need an intellectual discussion or a program or an expert, a marriage expert to tell me what we need to do. Because you know what? If only we know, we will do. All we need is knowledge to help us with behavior. I've never heard a more irrational statement than that. Because it is so... Just think about all the sins you've committed. No, let's not even say sin. All the mistakes you've made in life. You know, most of the mistakes you made in your adult life, you knew what was right before that. But we say that what? Knowledge is the thing that just leads us to behavior. No, it's not. If there's one advice I'm going to give you that you should not forget today, it is this. Prayer is where we attract God's power and wisdom. Don't get bored of asking God. Don't get bored of requesting from God. Don't get bored. Because even when you don't always receive the answers to what you are asking for, you are constantly coaching, you are constantly teaching yourself to know that you are dependent on the one who created marriage. There is nothing worse you can do than to try and live it out on your own. Nothing worse. So as you are trying to say, what is my purpose? What is the purpose of this marriage? As you are trying to do that, never at any point remove asking God for him to show you that purpose. Amen. Second is processing. Now, alongside prayer, yes, you do have to think. The same Bible that calls you to pray is the same Bible that calls you to think. And here's where it starts. If we want to say, what's the purpose for our marriage? It's no more than, first and foremost, what's the grand purpose for your life? What's the grand purpose for your life? Have you ever thought, what is it? Let me give myself the grand purpose of your life. What's the grand purpose of your life? Let me tell you the grand purpose of your life. Because, you know, I see things. For me, let me tell you the grand purpose of your life. Are you ready for this? You are ready for this? You don't have one. 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 None of us have a grand purpose for our lives. Look at Romans 8 verse 28 if you're a child of God. Romans 8 verse 28. Put it up. And we know that and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him and have been called according to what? Jesus. You don't have one. And thank God you don't have one. The purpose, the grand purpose for your life is not your purpose, it's the purpose that God has called you to. If you did not call yourself out of darkness, you cannot create a purpose for yourself. He says, for those who love him and are what? Called. Except you are not called by God, please go ahead and then put a purpose for your life. But the grand purpose for our lives, if we've been called out of darkness into his marvelous light, is not defined by us, it's defined by him. Amen. And then you think, where do we find it? Do we go to another? No, just go to the next verse. You see, because the purpose for our lives, it wasn't something that God said, look at Debo. He's Debo. He's going to be like 5'8", 5'9". Let me give him a purpose. He can't play basketball. Right? 5'8", 5'9". So he's not going to. God did not create the grand purpose for our lives after he saw us. He had created the grand purpose for our life before we were born. That is why it goes in the next verse and it says, for what? For those he foreknew, he what? Predestined. The destination for our life has already been preordained before the foundation of the world. Are you understanding? And so he's not giving it to one person in one way. He's giving it to all his children. You have one purpose. For those in foreknew, he what? He predestined to be what? Conformed to the image of his son. That's your purpose for your life. That is the reason you exist. You exist. Everyone here, if you're a Christian, you exist, what? To be conformed to the image of Christ. That is our destination. For you to have a purpose is because you have a destination. He predestined us. Now, but then you go back to 28. He says, we know that what? All things. Aha. So you see, you go from the grand and then you go to the granular. But the granular must fit into the grand. Are you understanding? They are all things. They are different things. But he's saying that all of those different things should work together for the grand thing. Are you understanding? So your work exists in some way, even when you don't understand. Your work exists, what? To conform you to the image of his son. The suffering in your life exists to conform you what? To the image of his son. The victories in your life exist to conform you to the image. Your wealth, your health, or even the lack of the health exists what? To conform. There is nothing outside of God's domain, and therefore there is nothing outside of God's plan and purpose for your life if only you will see it. Why are you married? To be conformed to the image of his son. And therefore, what is the purpose of your spouse? What's the purpose of Susha Tedu? Okay, no. Apart from Cretans. And what's the purpose of Tedu? You are an agent for God. You are an agent that God is going to use to conform Susha into the image of Christ. Susha, you are an agent for God to use. Man, Tedu's one is hard, child. What's up, man? To conform him into the image of Christ. So, Mr. and Mrs. Agent, how's your work going? All things. That's the destiny. Think about the last thing that the last spat you and your spouse had. Think about that investment you're making. How does it all conform? How do you put your life's purpose in that grand thing? Now, that's the grand. We're coming now to the granular and we're talking about marriage. When we then say the granular and say our marriage, the all things fit into a grand purpose, conforming us into the image of the Son. But each of the all things can have different purposes that fit into this larger purpose. Are you understanding? Because remember, we are trying to be conformed to the image of Christ. So we have to ask ourselves the question, what will Jesus do? What are the things we see that Jesus will do? And so when you are trying to discover in a narrower sense, what is the purpose of this marriage? I want you to ask 3 questions. There are 3 questions you should ask. There are 3 things we should consider, and this would make it even more practical. You look for common passions, common gifts, and agreed opportunities. Common passions, common gifts, and agreed opportunities. Because here's what you can't say. Jesus said, go into all nations and disciple. Why do my wife and I exist? To go into all nations, to go and disciple all nations. You and your wife, disciple all nations. Is it possible? So you have to still bring it down. As I'm trying to be more like Jesus Christ, how is it, as Chidinma and Solomon are trying to be more like Jesus Christ, how is it that they can live that out as their purpose in their own specific way? They must look for common what? Common passions, common what? Gifts, and agreed opportunities. Now I'm saying this, whether you are 10 years plus married, whether you are 5 to 10, 0 to 5, or you guys are already thinking about being married, have this down now. Start asking questions. So let's quickly look at that. Common passions. What are you both passionate about? Very early on in our marriage, we saw that we were both passionate about the transformation of people. That is, there's something we love seeing people who were, whether they were caught in sin or what have you, and they have been, paralyzed by this, and then you see this person working better. Or whether somebody didn't really come the way they used to think, they didn't really have purpose in their life, and now we see that person. Or we saw somebody that was just unserious, with how they used to walk with God, and now you see them flourishing, helping, they're performing as leaders and all of those things. That was one thing we knew we were both passionate about. And so because of that, from the day we got married, I'm not saying everybody can do this, thank God we're able to, but from the day we got married, we decided, even though our resources were limited, we will never have a house with less than 2 bedrooms. Because we knew for that to happen, we needed to be close to people. We needed to have some kind of proximity. So we decided that we will never have a house with what? Less than 2 bedrooms. Because somebody may want to visit, so that we can talk overnight, so that we can pray together. Are you following what I'm saying? What, within the scope of what Jesus would want, what are you passionate about? So Nkechi must say, they are the number of things I'm passionate about. And Francis brings some of the things he's passionate about. And then draw a Venn diagram. No, don't. All right? But find some commonalities. I am not saying, for instance, I know Francis is passionate about basketball. Nkechi couldn't care less about it. For those watching that didn't hear, I said Francis is passionate about basketball. Nkechi said Nkechi is the ball. In that regard, Francis is a big baller. So, of course, you guys are going to be... Wow. Get a wife that has a good turn of phrase. So, of course, you are going to be passionate about individual things. There's nothing worse than people who try to say marriage should be... unity is not uniformity. So, you can't say because we are now one, we must always all like the same thing. One of the best things, I think, in my marriage is that we give ourselves space just to pursue the things that we like. But imagine if everything that we liked, everything I liked, she hated. Why are we together? So there are things we are passionate about. Now, that is just maybe like interest. So maybe you like going to restaurants together. That's one thing. I don't know how that fits into the conformity into the image of Christ, right? So let's be careful about it. You see, we like this thing. God, predestination. No, it's not restaurants, okay? What are you both passionate about in Christ? I'm saying this because some of us need to go back home and do an inventory. What are you both passionate about? Find common passions. The next thing is common what? Gifts. Common abilities. What is it that you are both good at that then fits into this narrative? One of the couples that Tosi and I did their premarital counseling, when we got to this stage, we now asked, we're so blessed by this couple in the way they said it. This couple said, they thought about it, and God had uniquely financially blessed them, even before they were married, individually. So they knew, and they were well set up, good schools, everything. They knew that all things being equal, right, they were going to be hugely financially blessed. You know what they said? Oh, they know that one thing God has called them to is financial generosity. And so that they already had intentional ways of how they'll constantly be blessing their church, but also pursuing things beyond the church that fall in line with how Jesus behaved. What is it that God has commonly given to both of you, and how are you going to steward it in line with those passions? You see, this thing, as I'm saying, here's what you don't see that you may not be seeing that is going on. We're talking about people who are praying about this thing together. Then after they start processing this thing together, over and over again, do you know what they're doing? Or do you know what they're not doing? They're not arguing. They're not talking about petty things like you didn't text me today. Or you didn't, why did you speak to me in that tone? I'm not saying some of those things you shouldn't question, but when those things are at the height of what your married conversation is about, you see that you are not living out what you are made for. Common interests, common interests, common gifts. And maybe I should put a small caveat here in the common gifts. Sometimes, in this aspect of being conformed to the image of Christ and living that out, sometimes one person may be uniquely gifted in such a very intense way that the other person isn't. And that other person's gift is to do what? Is to support the other one. Are you understanding? So the woman may be uniquely gifted as maybe like a preacher. She may be uniquely gifted as a preacher. What is the husband meant to do? To give her the study time, to buy the books, to be able to organize places where she can speak to those people. Do you understand? They are still working together. Maybe one of them may be uniquely financially, high, or one of them is uniquely gifted in counseling. The other one support. But what are you doing? That's why my heart blesses. I always tell them, sorry, Moses and Delmo. They counseling. We always just throw it. Married counseling, people counsel, everything. We just throw it at them. Their house is a house where people just go to and find life. They are using that common word, gift. And that common gift, the use of that common gift, brings them together. Final one is agreed opportunities. Agreed opportunities. You can't do everything. Oh. You are not gifted, nor do both of you have the same passion for everything. God has placed you in specific places to specific people so that you can discover your specific purpose. Agreed opportunities. Try to limit, try to see. It's not everything. If church is calling you to do everything, at some point you tell Emmanuel no. Tell Pelumi no. Don't tell me no, though. But it's not everything, because we are not gifted, even individually, we are not gifted in everything, and we are not passionate about everything. And it's the same thing with us as couples. And so as you process these things, then the last part, remember we said pray, then process, and what's the last one? Practice. Practice, I'm not going to say practice makes perfect, or I just did. All right. But practicing, listen, if you don't start practicing, you will not develop the muscles that enable you to get better. Here's where some people do. You can process to the point of paralysis. Or you are still praying. We are still going to the mountain over and over because God hasn't yet declared the purpose fully. You already have some things. Look, even if you fail, you pray. If you fail, you learn and you process again. You guys should just start somewhere. Don't say, oh, we are not even 1 year. You should have already started discovering the purpose before you even entered into the marriage. Start doing something. In fact, it's in doing the things that you start to discover, it's this, but let's cut out this thing and let's cut out this other one. Don't stop trying to be purposeful. As you practice, you'll observe that your marriage, honestly, take these 3 steps. I'm telling you, you'll observe that your marriage is different to most of the marriages around you in Lagos. It is at that point you will learn how to say, because your marriage is so purposeful, you learn how to say no to all the invitations you have given, all the assurances that you are giving, all the whatever. You start just saying no. People will not like you. Be like, I'm sorry, I first have to live for the Lord. But God wants us to be purposeful in our marriage because that is what makes it multiplicative. But there's one more thing I should add, and I'll use this to close. I don't know about you, but have you ever eaten food from an expert? An expert. I'm not even talking, what's happening? Food from an expert. Every night. Tomorrow you are doing well. I did his counseling. And it's not overrated. That thing you're looking for is not overrated. Anyway, let's come back. So, yeah, some people are getting it. They are getting it later now. Yes. They say it's not PG-13. So, okay. Now, food from an expert. When I say food from an expert, I'm not necessarily talking about a chef. Let's take, for instance, jollof rice. The best people that I've eaten jollof rice by chefs before is horrible. Absolutely horrible. It's bland. You'll be using basmati to do. Why who uses basmati to do jollof? No. You can't use basmati was not made for jollof rice. Don't tell me nonsense. You know what I'm talking about. When do people start eating jollof rice? Let me tell you. When you eat jollof rice from an expert, there's always something I've realized in that jollof rice. You know, jollof rice is the same everywhere in terms of making jollof rice, basically. Right? It's going to come out yellow, red, whatever. It's tomato-based, it's the rice, everything. But when you eat, you look at it, it all looks the same, but you eat it and you know, no, this one is this person's jollof rice. Like me, like this, I know my wife's jollof rice if I'm blindfolded. I know my mother's jollof rice. I know my sister's jollof rice. I know our domestic self jollof rice. I know Ghana has jollof rice. I know there was one old barracks in Surulere back in the day. I know that jollof rice too. Do you understand? Blindfolded. You don't even have to tell me. Why? Because even though the food is all the same ingredients, the same kidney, there is always something that is added that you say, no, it belongs to this person. Do you understand? There's always something. Some people say it's the hand. Or some people say, but I almost feel like it's almost as though when they have cooked the jollof rice, when they have to, then they now put their own specific thing. They just pour out something, a blessing that makes it uniquely their own. Do you understand? And so that then gives it the particular taste. You know White House amala, you know Ayamala, Skies amala. You know, they're just different things that they pour something on it that makes it distinctly their own. Listen, after you have prayed, after you have processed, and after you have practiced, all of those things are like ingredients and cooking instructions. But they are all set up for one thing. There is an extra that is needed. Look at that Genesis 1:28 first. It says that God what? Bless them. There is a need for us to have the blessing of God. After all this fruitfulness, after all this, the reason why fruitfulness comes, the reason why multiplication comes, all of those things that we have set up, we set it up, but ultimately the grand purpose and the outliving of this thing comes when God pours out his blessing upon us. He blessed them first before he commissioned them. God blessed them and then he told them, go and do this thing. Are you following me? He blesses them first before he then commissions them. And then you ask me, what is God's blessing? Because that's one of the most difficult things in this Nigerian Christianity. Everybody wants to be blessed. Don't you want to be blessed? What is God's blessing? What does it mean? Let me tell you what God's blessing is. I've been trying to study this thing for a long time, looking in different places, looking here and different. Here's what God's blessing is. I don't know. I'm serious. I don't know. I don't think you can define it. I think God's blessing is like trying to define, when they say that girl is fine, that woman is fine, he said describe it. How would you use words? We just know that the person is what? Fine. There is just something about it that tells me there is something that is just about this woman. I can't start to describe it. The moment I start trying to describe it, it becomes what? Elusive. Somebody recently, maybe the best closest to it, but I still slightly disagree. The person called God's blessing multidimensional flourishing. That is flourishing in every dimension of your life. And I'm like, yes, it's close, but I don't think that is true. Because when we look at someone that we say, it's looking like something, God is really favoring this person. We don't say, look at the blessing. You know what we say? This is a blessed person. We are unable to identify the blessing, but we know where God has poured out his blessing. So here's how I redefined it, even though you see that it's not a true definition. What is God's blessing? God's blessing is that thing that God gives that leads to multidimensional flourishing. That thing that God gives that leads to multidimensional flourishing. When he pours it out on your marriage, you know that this marriage is God blessed. He blessed them before he what? He commissioned them. I don't want you to miss out this pattern in the Bible. Listen, for them to be able to achieve the things that God had called them to do, unity was a prerequisite. You always need unity for you to achieve your goal. If man united, disunited by the grace of God, they will never achieve their goal. It is only when you are united that you can achieve the purpose that God has called you to. So unity is needed. But what do we need before unity as God's people? Then you go to Psalm 133, and it says how beautiful it is when God's people dwell together in what? Unity. It is as though oil was being poured on the head of Aaron, and to the beard, and to the skirts, and down to his feet. He said it's as though that the dew of heaven had descended upon Mount Zion. And then he says this, and never mistaken. He said, for it is there that God what? Commanded the blessing, even life forevermore. There is something that God pours out on your marriage when you process, when you pray, when you decide to practice this thing about purposefulness, that we call upon the name of the Lord. He pours it out on them. He said, what is it? I don't know what it is, but when I see a blessed marriage, I can know what it is. There are people who are blessed, and they are blessed to be a blessing. In Psalm 112, he gives you the definition of a blessed man. He said the blessed man does not hold the blessing to himself. A blessed man, what? He scatters what? His gifts to the poor. It is not an additive marriage. It is not a subtractive marriage. It is not a divisive marriage. God pours out his blessing, and these people receive it, and somehow they just scatter their gifts to the poor. Oh, may God pour out his blessing upon our marriages. May God enable us to be the kind of people that our love does not just stay around us, but somehow it expands. It expands to our children. It expands to our church. It expands to our place of work. It expands to our city. God is saying, stop dreaming small. Dream big. I have called you to something else. And then see whether your marriage will not flourish. I'll end with this scripture because it's so sweet. Again, you must see this pattern. In the grand purpose of things, there is a bigger marriage that we are looking towards. He says that this marriage is like Christ. Marriage is like pointing us to Christ and his church. You know the fulfillment of Genesis 1:27-28, the fulfillment of it is the ultimate marriage for the ultimate children. That is, God had chosen Christ, the man, and the church, the bride, so that when they come together, they can bring forth spiritual children. This is why when Jesus rose from the dead, in Luke chapter 24, he commissioned his disciples. He says, you guys knew that the Messiah was meant to die and resurrect. And thereafter that, repentance for the forgiveness of sins will be preached in his name. He says, you are witnesses of this thing. So now go and make the disciples of all nations. And then what did Jesus Christ do? He had given the instruction. He had died and he had risen again. Everything was set up. But for them to go, verse 50, what does he say? He lifted up his hands and he did what? He blessed them. May God bless our marriages. This is the one thing you can't buy. This is the one thing you can't process. But it's the one thing that God says, if you set yourself up in this way, I will pour it out. Did he not say this in Ephesians chapter 1, verse 3? He says that, blessed be the God. Put it up there. It said, blessed be the God. Go back to verse 3. Praise to God our Father and our Lord Jesus Christ, who has done what? He has blessed us in heavenly realms with every spiritual blessing in Christ. Why? He chose us from the foundation of the world to be predestined according to being sons, according to his pleasure and his will. Let's rise to our feet. I really want us to ask for this specific one thing, for God to pour out his blessings in our marriage. But it's the blessing to be purposeful. It is the blessing to be purposeful as God has called us to be to his own purpose. Yes, on the one hand, sometimes we do have to go for counseling for specific things, but I can assure you this, the vast majority of us will see all these problems go away. They will go away because why? We decide to focus on the purpose of God. For those of us who are not yet married, who desire to be married, or those of us who are already engaged, this is what you need. Start asking God for clarity regarding the purpose of your marriage. Start asking God. If you have been married for a while and now you are just discovering this and you're saying, no, we need to do an inventory. Ask God for clarity in your eyes. And ask him that as he does it, let him pour out his blessing. This blessing of God, it brings about multi-dimensional restoration as well. For where there are cracks in our marriage, God, in pouring out his blessing, is going to be able to restore them. Oh Lord, by your blessing, restore our marriages. Oh Lord, oh God Almighty, for the marriages that are maybe in the additive stage, oh Lord, we thank you for how you've helped them thus far. But God, pour out your blessing and let there be multiplicative marriages in this place. Lord God Almighty, for those who are looking for what it will be for thinking about their future, Lord. Pour out the blessing, oh God, for them to be the kind of people that will fit into these multiplicative marriages. Pour out your blessing, that they will discover, find their partners, will be people that will also be purposeful in their marriage. Do something good for us, oh God, in the name of Jesus Christ. Let our marriages be like when Jesus attended the wedding of Cana, that he brought out new wine. They said, look, it's as though you left the best for last. Lord, we know when you pour out your blessing upon our marriage, it will be like new wine. Oh God, we thank you. Thank you, Lord God Almighty. We're going to respond now. I'll allow the music team to lead us. But we're going to, in 2 songs, just ask Jesus to make us an instrument of his blessing, to bring out new wine for us in all the difficulties we go through, all the victories that we have. Let him bring out new wine in our marriages. And at the same time, after that, we'll just ask him that we give ourselves to be used by him. We give ourselves away, not mindlessly, but we give ourselves away knowing that putting ourselves in his hands is the best place to be. So let's sing as though we are praying as a way to pray to the Lord for these things. Amen.
The crushing, in the pressing, you are making new wine. In the soil I now surrender. You are breaking new ground. Come on, we'll sing together. In the crushing, in the pressing, you are making new wine. You're transforming us in your likeness, in your image, in the soil life. Now surrender. You are breaking new ground. You are breaking new ground. So we yield to you and to your careful hands, where we trust you with the need to understand. Make me a vessel, make me a vessel, make me, oh God, make me whatever you want. Make me whatever you want me to be. I came here with nothing. Oh God, you've given me everything. You keep bringing new wine out of us. You keep bringing new wine out of me. Say, make me a vessel. Make me a vessel. If anyone is in Christ, is a new creation. All things should pass away. Now look, all things are new. Make me whatever you want. I came here with nothing, but all you have given me, God, you keep bringing new wine out of me. Jesus, bring new wine out of me. Where there is new wine, there is new power, there is new freedom. The kingdom is here. I lay down my old flames to carry your new fire today. Oh, where there is new wine, there is new power, there is new freedom, there is new fire, fresh anointed. Your kingdom is here. We lay down our old flame, and we come your new fire today. Come on, together we'll sing. Make me a vessel, say, make me a vessel. It's our innerst cry and innerst desire that you mold us, that you transform us in your likeness, in your image, God. We came here empty-handed. You've given us so much more than we can fathom. Jesus, bring new wine out of us, out of us. Oh, Jesus, bring new wine out of me. Oh, Lord Jesus, we give you everything, Jesus. Take it all. This life that we live is not ours. So we give it all to you, God. We give it all to you, God. My life is not my own. To you I belong. I give myself to you. My life is not my own. To you I belong, oh God. I give myself to you. I give myself away. I give myself away. I give myself away. So you can use me. I give myself away. All that I am and all that I ever be, I give it all over to you, Jesus. Take it all, God. Take it all, God. So here I am. Here I am. Here I stand. Oh, God. Oh, how I'm longing for today. I'm longing to see your desires revealed in me. I give myself away. I give myself away. Oh, I know that it's not that I live. It's not I that live. For me to live is Christ. For me to live is Christ. I give myself away. Oh, take it all, Jesus. Take it all, God. I give myself away. So you can use me. Come on, just begin to say those words. Say, Father, I give you my all in my marriage, in my life. For my spouse, oh God, I give it all to you. We know that you, oh God, have the true purpose for our lives. We can't do it without you, Jesus. We can't do it without you, Jesus. We'll just be wondrous. We'll just be wondering without your purpose for our lives. And so we trust you, Jesus. And so we trust you, God. All over to you, Jesus. For we know that our lives is not our own. To you we belong. And so we give ourselves to you. My life is not my own, you say. My life is not my own. My time, my money, my marriage, my life, my spouse. So we give it all. We give it all. My life is not my own. My life is not my own. So you will belong. We give ourselves to you. I give myself We surrender all to you, Jesus. We give ourselves away so you can use us for your glory. For your glory, God. Use me.
Thank you, worship team. Please, we could have our seats. Wow, thank you, thank you. That was an amazing talk from Pastor Femi. Don't you think, Chido?
Yes, very amazing. In fact, there were highlights I picked when he was speaking.
Please, could you share some
In
with
fact, one thing he said that resonated: unity is not uniformity. So
Very key.
that caught my attention. And then talking about the different types of marriages, the divisive marriage, the subtractive marriage. In fact, when he got to the additive marriage, I said, okay, that's it. And then we got to the multiplicative marriage. And of course, the purpose of each marriage. So he still talked about prayer, processing, and practicing. And that couples, which I think we should go home with, should have common passions, common gifts, and agreed opportunities.
Wow,
In fact,
wow.
loaded.
Very,
loaded
very, very,
evening.
very, very good point. Thank you for that, Chidi.
And then the next thing we are going to do, praise the Lord. It was almost sounding like, oh, we are making a very sober announcement. Okay, and this is the point. You know, of course, most of us here are married. And when you go for a wedding, there is always something they say. I don't think they still do those things now. Maybe it's old school. Maybe it's during my own time. Item 7. I don't think they still do item 7. Because I go into a marriage now, as soon as you are sitting down, you are eating. But in our own days, you will go for you know what I mean by old days. Sola and I, are we old school? Baby, are we old school? So you go
Yes.
for you go for a wedding, and then I don't know why pastors decide that is when they want to preach the whole marriage, everything marriage. Then when it gets to item 7. So now it's like item 7 for us.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So it's break.
It's break time. So we have 6 minutes. Okay, 7 minutes. We have food packed outside. So please quickly go outside, grab a pack, and then it's time for us to mingle, say hello to 1 or 2 people, and then we'll come back. Remember, we have 6 minutes.
No, 10?
10 minutes. 10 minutes to do this. So
And
please.
Why is it that they say that the way to a man's heart is through his stomach? Why? I don't know. Men, can you help us? So I don't know if that's still the way to a man's heart.
Femi rightly said the heart is in the mouth. So please, if you have questions, we'll have WhatsApp numbers paste on the screen.
Have it on the screen.
Oh, it's on the screen already. And if you are watching with us online, please send your questions to the comment section, or you can also copy the number that is on the screen. So prepare your questions, because we're going to have a Q&A session with very experienced people to answer all questions that you have for marriage. So it's time for break. See you soon.
So go. I don't know if to say bon appetit. Enjoy your meal, and we'll see you shortly.
Please, it's not a time to go. Pick up your food and then come back inside. Wrong.
Yes, you can continue eating your food while the program continues. And,
Yes.
you know. So I hope we're having a nice time. I can see the pack, rich pack, protein, carbohydrates, vitamins. All right.
Funke. Chido, if there's one thing I know I can't do to save myself in this life, I know I cannot sing to save my life. That's why in my whole marriage life, in fact, the 15 years I've known Susha, I've never sang to her.
Aww.
Yeah, that sounds bad.
So should I say all for you?
But how about your experience?
Okay, my experience, I've been in the choir for a long time. So my husband is sitting right there. So maybe he should be asked if it was in the choir that, you know, he started getting ideas of like, that babe should be my wife. I don't know.
You know, I have a roving mic.
He warned.
Well,
Okay,
this
so
leads us into our next
yes,
session.
our next segment, we are now going to know the couples who sang to their spouses during courtship, who did not sing, or who are singing right now. So we are going to have the karaoke segment. I know you are eating, but you can, you know, show something. Some people are saying, some people are giving me the eye of better, not even better. Better, not colozo. And Tedo,
So-
remember what we said? We are what?
We're running a dictatorship.
Exactly.
So if you are called upon, it's not a suggestion.
It
Please
is a
kindly
command.
respect ourselves and come out and sing.
And this karaoke, we are still going to use our categories. The first category, 0 to 5 years, them never what?
Them never see.
They never see. Then 5 to 10 years.
How it be now?
And then our 10 years and above,
No be
beans. So even the no be beans people, I'm sure in the karaoke, you can also still show that is no be beans things. So
That aside, we have set aside 3 very unique prizes for the
Yes.
couples that come first, second,
Second,
and third.
And I've just told my friend sitting here, I told her you better win one of the prizes. Oh. In fact, else. Devil.
So to help us get those that are going to take the first, the second, and the third position, we have selected very special judges. They are unbiased. They
Impartial.
are impartial. Please, is there any other word I can use to describe these special people? Impeccable.
And what did you say, Devil?
Incorruptible.
Yes.
And these people are none other than our spouses. So I'd like to call on the stage Uncle Solo and Dr. Ksusha. Please, let's give a round of applause for them.
And the reason is obvious because as their spouses, we are standing here. So in quote, they are in quote spouseless today. So they are going to be our judges. And
Our
we
third-
have, yes, a
Our third
person.
judge. Did he run away?
Did he run away? Where is Femi Akinwari? Please.
Please drag Femi Akinware down here. He has also been spouseless the whole evening. Oh, thank you very much.
So he's our third judge.
So our judges, it's quite simple. We apologize. We have just 2 sheets here.
Okay.
But once a couple comes out and sings, all you have to do is take up any of the numbers. Raise it up.
10 being the highest score.
10 being the highest score
and
and
6 being the lowest score. No zero. So
No
it's
zero.
6 to 10, yes. So we are going to pass a bag to the couples, and you dip your hand into the bag, and any number you pick, we are going to play that song, and then you and your spouse, we want to see what happens behind closed doors.
So Pelumi and thank you. Pelumi is always ready to compile the scores. So again, we're starting from our first category, the 0 to 5s. So if you know
Them never see.
them never see.
So there is a couple right in front of me here. We missed them during the discussion. And you are the them never see category, right? 0 to 5. 0 to 5. So,
Call them out.
okay, please
Please
can you
come out.
come out?
Please let's give them a round of
Please
applause.
give them a round of applause. You never know. Maybe from here you could be going to the studio.
You can pick
Elijah,
up the
take
mics.
notes. Where is Elijah?
And so here we have a basket with numbers. You pick a number. Whatever number you pick, that song is going to be played. We also don't know the song. They have mics. So, lady, let the ladies.
Then maybe you
That's
appoint
problem.
a couple that will bail you. No, you
So
will know the
they
song.
picked number
Number
10.
10.
So please could you take your mics on the floor?
Mics.
Because the song is coming up very soon.
Watch them and see.
Morning, shooting star across the night. The most beautiful girl I've seen in all my life. Every second spent with you is like a day that starts brand new. Girl, I'm so amazed at all the things you do. Yes, I wanna build my whole world around you. So I promise you forever and for always. Girl, you are my sunshine, baby, don't you go away. Yeah, I want me. Olólùfẹ́ mi, ọ̀rẹ́ mi, aláyọ̀ mi. I will love you forever. Ìyàwó mi, olólùfẹ́ mi, ọ̀rẹ́ mi, aláyọ̀ mi. I will love you forever. Like me in your words and in the way you call my name. I'd do anything. You're my best friend, you're my lover. Without you, no one else will do. Through thick and thin, I know we'll make it true. Yes, I wanna build my whole world around you. So I promise you forever and for always. Girl, you are my sunshine, baby, don't you go away. Ìyàwó mi, olólùfẹ́ mi, ọ̀rẹ́ mi, aláyọ̀ mi.
Let's give them a
I
round
will
of
love you
applause.
forever.
Amazing.
Ìyàwó mi,
Please, let's clap for them.
olólùfẹ́ mi.
Amazing. Yes. So, judges, we want to see what you have rated this couple.
We rate the wife 9.
It's a couple,
It's
so
a 9 from Femi.
9 from Femi.
The wife is a 9.
Yes, a couple. Yeah.
6 for the husband.
So we just want one for the couple. No. No, we are
No,
not
judges,
doing
one
white.
score.
No, we just
One
want
score for
one
the couple.
score for the couple. 9 from Femi, 7 from Solo, and 8 from
give them a round of
Shusha. A
applause.
round of applause.
So the next couple, Chido will have the pleasure of calling
Yes,
them out.
I am Doctor and his wife. They are over there, Chineye and Praise. They belong to them never see category.
Them never see category.
Please, can you
So
come
please
up? Please, let's clap for them as they come. At least now we can see from the first couple that the wife was not joking. The husband was just, supporting. So let's see. So it's a couple's thing. Your marks can either drop or
madam,
go high based on one. So what number?
Number 4.
Number 4.
Please, the mics are there.
Please, let's be sure that both mics are working because his mic was not working. Yes. All right. Number 4. What's music? Doctor, don't back them. You can. Are you helping them?
She's always in my dreams. She's my fantasy. The moment I saw you walking through the door, girl, I knew you were the one. My, oh my. Let me to the top. Let my love fill you up until the morning comes. Every time I see your face, there's a person can be traced. You'll be my wifey, you want me forever, baby. I wanna let you know you mean the world to me, girl. Never found the way I feel with you before, girl. Don't ever leave me lonely. Without you, girl, my life is incomplete. You are the angel of my life, my angel of my life, my angel of my life, my angel of my life.
What a couple that has the whole support of the whole church. Let's give it up for Doctor and his wife.
This is the first time I'm ever singing this song.
Okay, so the judges, so the judges will rate them now. So judges, can we see what you want to rate? There is no 5. 6 is the lowest.
6 is the lowest.
6 from Solomon. 6. 8 from
Susha.
and 7.
Let's give it up for them.
Give it up for them, Doctor and Chine. So we are going to the next category. The people we have called How It Be Now.
How it be now?
So Tedo, do you have any couple in mind?
They know themselves.
How it be now? 5 to 10 years.
The couple I have in mind know themselves. So they should just respect themselves and come out as we clap for Toki and Tomisi.
How it be now? So
Please,
start coming.
let's give them a round of applause as they come out.
So we'll see if Toki, you are in the music team. So Tomisi, I don't know if Toki has been singing for
I think
you.
Tomisi used to sing.
All right,
Tomisi
come and
did
pick
a bit of
number.
singing, so. Wow, she picked lucky number 3.
Number 3.
Number 3.
Okay, pick up the mics. Thank you. Do you know the song?
What will I do without your smart mouth? Drawing me
Let's
in
hear
and
them.
kicking me out. Got my head spinning, no kidding. I can't pin you down. What's going on in that beautiful mind? I'm on your magical mystery ride, and I'm so dizzy. Don't know what hit me, but I'll be alright. My head's underwater, but you're breathing fine. You're crazy and I'm out of my mind. 'Cause all of me loves all of you. Love your curves and all your edges, all your perfect imperfections. Give your all to me, I'll give my all to you. You're my end and my beginning. Even when I lose knows I'm winning, 'cause I give you all of me, and you give me all of you.
Whoa, let's give it up to Tommy C and Toki. Amazing. Amazing, amazing. Oh, wow. 10 from
So
Solomon, 10
10
from
from-
Femi, 10 from Susha. Let's give it up for them. Oh, wow. So we can see that we are seeing experiences going high. So how it be now? So that's amazing. So we are calling another category.
We're
from
calling,
higher.
yes, no, how it be now. So we're
Yes.
calling another couple from the how it be now group. And I think they know that I'm going to call them. And they are now discussing which song are we going to pick. So can we give a round of applause for the Chibos as they come out?
Francis and Nkechi. How it be now? Okay. Francis has just removed all the numbers and left only number 10 for the judges.
And they selected number 2.
Number 2.
Just a smile and there's no way back. Can hardly believe it, yeah. This time I lay my love on you. It's all I wanna do. Every time I breathe, I feel brand new. You open up my heart, show me all your love and walk right through as I lay my love on you. A lonely place, could hardly believe it, yeah. Holding on to yesterday, far, far too long. I believe it's okay, 'cause this time it's real. I lay my love on you, it's all I wanna do. Every time I breathe, I feel brand new. You open up my heart, show me all your love and walk right through
Now we
as I
can hear.
lay my love on you.
So there's something they say Yoruba people do, right? When we don't know a song, we say wah, 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 wah. Then when you get to the chorus, you have a 4.
So judges are rating them and this crowd. So
Just got 10. The Chibos got 6.
so Solomon gives them 6. Susha gives 8.
Susha gives them an 8. And Femi gives them a 6.
Okay, let's give a round of applause to them. When the song started, Francis looked confused, like, is this made in heaven song or I think that's Backstreet Boys. Westlife. Oh, thank you. So we are going to the next category.
Our Inobi Beans
Inobi
category.
Beans.
And so we're
Levels.
calling the senior experienced people. The people that we know that are going to clear it 10, 10, 10, 10. And for our first couple, I think the spirit is leading them to come out. So can we call on Yemi and Feyi?
Yemi and Feyi. Yemi, and give it up to them. Keep clapping as they come. Yemi and Faye. Please give it up for Yemi and Faye. He no be beans. He no be beans. Yes, he no be beans. No. No collabo. It's no.
There is no collabo.
Do we have Dana Ross?
No.
Dana Ross, Dana Ross. Yeah, we would not know the song.
They picked number one.
Number one. So here, let's hear the music. Correct. Can you see experience? Use the mic.
Olólùfẹ́, ojú kan ṣàlàdà mi. Olúwa, kò sóhun tí ò yẹ wá. Dùn ẹnì kejì mi. What I was in my belly. Koríko sóhun. Mo fẹ́ bá ẹ darúgbó, mo fẹ́ bá ẹ dalẹ̀.
Let's give it up for Faye and Yemi. Amazing.
That was just simply amazing.
Amazing. In fact, they added more swag to their own. But let's see what the judges have to say.
So what do the judges have to say?
The judges.
What they didn't have in singing, they made up with dancing.
Yeah.
So I'm giving them 8.
8 from Solomon. 8 from Shusha.
You have to respect your elders.
And 8 from Femi. Let's give it up for Faye and Yemi again. And still in this category of no be beans, you can see that it's not beans. See the swag and the dance. So we are calling on someone a lot of people refer to as Elder
Mo!
Where is Delmo?
Balumi is going to call her. So let's give a round of applause.
Let's give it up for
Moses
Elder Moses. And you are not allowed to say no.
Again, remember we have. She's coming.
And we in fact, we have another no be beans. In fact, it's intriguing to know that City Church, we have a lot of no be beans. So we just have another no be. Kemi, where are you going to? Can you see our no be beans people? Their experience. Yay! So let's give it up for Elder Mo and Delmo. So pick a number. Delmo is threatening me. Let it be on record, though, that Delmo is threatening me.
That's fine.
Number what?
Number 6.
Number 6.
That's a good one.
Number 6 for Delmo and...
They don't know who a chair
Could you start all over again, please?
Okay, let's do it.
And I can't sweep off my feet. Will your mouth still remember the taste of my life? Will your eyes still smile from my cheeks? Loving you till 17.
Don't be beans couple, they know how far.
Still for 23.
Thinking about how people fall in love in mysterious ways.
Maybe just the touch of a hand. Well, me, I fall in love with you every single day. I just wanna tell you I am. So, honey, now. Take me in your loving arms.
Kiss me
Under the light of 1,000 stars. Place your head on my beating heart. I place your head on my beating heart.
We found love right where we are. Let's give it up for Elder Mo and Delmo. All the support.
Thank you, guys. So, okay, let's rate them.
So let's see what the judges are rating. Moses is sharing his own score.
So from Femi is an 8.
From Femi is 8. Susha is 6. And Solo is 7.
All right, good evening, everybody. We have come to the highlight of this evening's event. I want you guys to give a standing ovation to our final couple, Pastor Femi and Tosin. Please welcome them. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. A highlight.
Yeah, it's true, but no, this one is me dedicating a song to her. So I want to dedicate a song to her. You people, but I need you to help me. All right? So when we get to the don't worry, when we get to the chorus, you help me, okay? Are we ready? No, there's no way I'll sing it together. Just wait. I don't want to die after. Are we ready? Are we ready? Please play the song for me. Well, I'm here, I'm back, I'm taking over. I don't drink, I don't smoke. I'm clean and sober. I be African man, Well, I think of you. Well, every night I think of you. Well. Well, I'm here, I'm back, I'm taking over. I don't drink, I don't smoke. I'm clean and sober. I be African man, I be exotic lover. Pretty lady, nice to know ya. Nice to know ya, nice to meet ya. What's your name? What's your name? Say what? Love me jeje, love me tender. I don't mess around, I'm not a great pretender. I'm the bad boy from Nigeria. The baddest bobo in this area. You blow my mind. Hey, you're walking, you blow my mind with the way you're talking. You know, stop. Love me, jeje.
See our OPF.
Love me, tender. You are my sugar, my honey, my tender lover. Sugar, my honey, tender lover. Well, if you say you love me, I'll stay forever. But if you say you love me, I'll stay forever. Love me, JJ, love me tender. Oh.
Let's give it up for Pastor.
Please pray for me for this night.
Oh, are you?
Okay.
Let's give it up for our own very rapper in the house. PF, we didn't know you could rap like this, so. And I saw Tosi. Tosi was like, oh my goodness.
Tomiwa, do we have time for one more round? Okay.
Okay.
So we'll go back
to
the beginning.
They never see.
Them never see. Which couple here have we not called? So please,
give it up.
Tomiwa and Victoria.
Victoria. Where is she?
She's hiding, but the grace of the Lord will bring her out.
Please, let's keep clapping for them as they come.
Till they come out.
So, Victoria, come and show us how you were responding or singing. Okay. Number nine. Microphones on the floor. Victoria,
Benny, you know we've been friends for a long time.
What's number 9? Okay.
Anybody really won't fight, make them come, I already know. They'll be right beside, like the wall of Jericho. They don't know what's going on. My baby, I'll be a soldier for you. I'm getting better and come. You should know I got you, and you don't need to got me too. I'll be right beside you in anything that you do. If you ever need me, I will be running into you.
Oh, wow.
I'll be running to you, running to you. Anywhere that you go to, running to you. I'll be running to you, running to you. Anywhere that you go to.
Oh, give it up for Victoria and Tomiwa.
I'm looking for trouble.
So let's see what the judges are rating them.
It's a 9 from
9
Femi,
from
a
Femi,
10 from Ksusha,
10
and
from Susha,
a 9 from Solo. Let's give it up for them.
Wow, amazing. So we are going to call on the Haibi now, 5 to 10. We are calling on Shegun Shogbami and his lovely wife, Ifedayo.
They should still come out.
What?
They should still come out.
No, we don't.
Even
there
if
is
we
no,
messed, they should still.
He said, oh, you are over 10. Oh, wow. So should we? Okay, yes, still come. No, still come. No be beans, just be coming. Let's clap for them as they come. Shagu is ready. See the way he's bouncing up to the stage. So pick a number.
Number 8.
Number 8.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. No one like you. No one like you. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No one. Hello, how you doing? My baby, my one and only. The one that lets me sing. Within me, joy and blessing. You know. walk hand in hand. I just wanna let you know you're the finest. Now you feelings that I've seen, you're the brightest. The way you shine, you look like me, you're the highest. When it comes to rating, you're the lead. My princess, my one and lover. Just wanna let you know that no one be like you. See, no one be like you. So they gonna bless you, cause I'm the blessing. No one be like you. You're driving me crazy, cause you are my baby. No one be like you. No one, no one like you. No
Let's
one,
give a round
no
of
one
applause.
like you.
Wow, amazing. If
And what do our judges say?
So our judges will rate them now.
8,
9, and 9. A round of applause. Let's give them a round of applause.
And please, let's give a bigger round of applause for our judges. They have been beautiful. So, Belumi has been compiling our scores for us. You know I would have called her out. So again, we thank you for that very, very interesting session. It's time for Q&A. It's time for Q&A. And for those of us that compiled our questions, please, this is time to get them ready. We're going to be calling to the stage our able pastor, Femi Oshuni. And joining him on the stage is another couple that be beans. Please, I might lose my citizenship in City Church this Sunday. Please forgive me. Joining him to the stage is our able Atesi, the first lady, the one and only, the only sugar in Pastor Femi's tea, the only Milo that he can use. Coming to the stage is Tosin Osuni too. Let's give it a round of applause. Joining them on the stage, like I said, is another Inobi Beans couple, highly respected in our midst. We'll call upon the stage Uncle Solo and Auntie Chido. Please. And to help me with this Q&A, that's how Judas betrayed Jesus. The person that is meant to help me was just doing me like this. Okay, so I believe we have questions that have been sent to our WhatsApp group, our WhatsApp number. No questions. Okay, so the mic will be going around. If anyone has any question to Pastor Femi, any question about the talk he had with us or marriage in general, please, this is the time. The floor is open. Tumiwa has the mic going around. Please just lift up your hands and then the mic will go to you. Everybody is settled. Oh, we have a hand behind.
Okay, hi, good evening. So my question is in regards to like single parents, like the ones that have basically the marriage is basically not there, and maybe they have, especially for single mothers in particular, because I feel like most of the time when it comes to marriages that have kind of split, you find that most of the time the children are usually under the mothers, and they are the ones that always tend to take care of their children and raise them and do the job of wearing, both the pants for themselves and filling in the place that their husbands are supposed to fill. So how would you advise a single mother to kind of help a child that maybe because of what they've seen their parents go through, to kind of not see marriage as that in general? Because I feel like for a lot of children that have grown up in single parent homes, they tend to see marriage as this thing that they can't really, pursue, or they don't have that faith that can work for them. So how can those kinds of parents, help?
Oh, okay. Yes. Anyone? Yeah.
Okay. I think the first thing I want to say is that when marriage breaks, I haven't experienced it, but knowing family and friends who have experienced it, I think that when marriage breaks up, is always a big challenge for the people involved. Then I just want to add also that, and I always say this to my wife when we talk, if someone is a man and has a child and is in a marriage, that person is a father, and that person is also a husband. And the collapse of one of the relationships does not necessarily mean that the other one should collapse as well. A man may stop to be a husband, but I don't believe that, except in situations where contact with the child threatens the child's welfare, and that's not necessarily it shouldn't be just the opinion of the mom. It should be something that is factual. Except that's what we're dealing with. I don't believe that simply because a marriage has collapsed, then a child should not experience fatherhood, or a child should not experience motherhood. I think based on that, I think the spouses estranged spouses should find a way to allow each other have opportunity, to play their parental roles, which they owe the children. So that said, the other thing I also want to say is that I think transparency matters a lot. And it's not just about marriage, all around in raising children. It's good that children know that we struggled with certain things. Doesn't necessarily mean that those things are, the good sides of those things are not available. So if I'm in a marriage as a dad or as a husband, and my wife is not treating me well, my wife treats me well, but I'm just saying, if my wife is not treating me well, I shouldn't raise my children. I shouldn't communicate to my children in a way that suggests that women don't treat their husbands well, wives don't treat their husbands well, or our husbands don't treat their wives well. When we sell that to the children, we actually destroy them, But we should communicate transparently, and that transparency also means that we are not just trying to say things the way. Transparency means we are saying things the way they are, which also means that my experience is not necessarily the way marriage is experienced by everyone, So I think that gives children a balanced view of marriage and a balanced view of life. That's just what I want to add there. Yeah.
One part I would just add is to say, I'm sure many of us have heard this thing, that the way most people, the way they train guys who spot fake currencies is not by showing them fake currencies. The way they spot it is by showing them real currencies, and that if they master the real currency, they'll be able to spot the counterfeit. Meaning, the existence, to see something that is a counterfeit means that there has to be the real. There's no counterfeit without the real of something. And so just to underscore this thing about, I would say that as the children grow older, the mother or the father, whichever one, has to be intentionally transparent and to say, my marriage didn't work, but that doesn't mean, in fact, it was this and this that didn't work out well. I know some who have said literally, I was advised against marrying your dad. I was advised against marrying your mom, and I went against that advice and look at the things, this is how I chose, or this is how I didn't choose well. And so what they are then doing is to say, it's because I didn't do it well. It's not because this institution is bad. And so just taking them, being honest about their mistakes, lets them know that this thing is actually good, right. You know, in the African American community, which sadly, I think last time I saw, is about the most, I think about 70% of children grow up in single parent homes. It's that bad right now. One of the things that is a joy to see is that a lot of the, especially the men that grow out of that, I'll give you one example, LeBron James, right, is, to most people's account, is an exemplary father. And the reason why is because his dad wasn't there. And so the counterfeit, the bad marriages should be able to inspire them to say, all right, at least I've learned how not to do it. But I'm sure that there is a right way to do it. So.
Thank you for those answers. We have a question from Ruth and Say on the WhatsApp. It says, how do you create time for yourself and your partner in the midst of children, especially little ones?
You create time. you have to put boundaries, especially from early on. If you don't put boundaries, if you don't intentionally create time, there'll be no time. So you have to sit down, both of you, and say, okay, we want a date night. I want time for myself. I want time to be refreshed. I don't want to go crazy with taking care of the kids. Say, okay, you husband, take care of the kids for 2 hours or 4 hours. I want to go out with my friends. I just want to spend time alone. That's creating time for yourself, and vice versa. And then creating time for both of you. Maybe you want to go out or you want to spend the weekend together. There are family members available. There are friends available that can help you. I mean, the first time that we had to go away. I think our son Tofumi was 2.5 years old, and we knew that we had to go away, both of us, because both of us were schooling at that time, and he was doing his PhD, I was doing my master's. We were so overwhelmed, and so his sister had to drive down to our city, which is 2.5 hours away, to pick up Tofumi, take him for the weekend. And I remember having the itch to call everyone out to know, is he okay? Is he okay? But it was a very good time, for us. So you have to intentionally create the time, is the answer that I would give.
Okay, and just to add to that, at least from a woman who had many kids, like dozens. Said you are who? And in our own case, so when Dawn was born, Diamond came shortly after. My husband would say first batch, second batch. And the truth is, for women especially, there is always that guilt that you struggle with if you want to create time for yourself. So sometimes, in fact, maybe it's now that I'm now like, the way Nigerians say, I don't borrow. So, you always have that guilt of, am I a good mom? What mom actually feels, yippee, I'm alone, So, and then you have that emotion, you struggle, and all those things kind of weigh you down. But then it's important because you can have burnout. And when you have burnout, you become irritable, even to the children. And then you become irritable to your spouse. And life just looks like, I beg, who sent me message kind of thing. So you create that time. You say to yourself, I think first of all, you deal with that feeling of there is nothing wrong to desire to be on my own, and there is nothing wrong, because sometimes we can raise children who may begin to feel entitled. So your children always feel that you are there. And so when you want an alone time, they're almost like, I remember the first time I went to the movies with my friends without my children. My last daughter, she was in grade 4. So she saw the popcorn thing in the car. And she was like, Mama, did you go to the movies? I said, yes. With who? I said, with my friend. How? So that was the day I said to myself, this is not healthy, not for me and not for the children. So you have friends, and there is nothing wrong in asking for help. especially when your kids are small. So you even diffuse that it's not a bad thing to want an alone time. It's not a bad thing to want time with your spouse. Because if you don't create that time gradually, you begin to think that your marriage is all encompassing, even with the children. So I hear people who say, we go out. And when they say we go out, they are talking about me, my spouse, and the children. No. So you bring in people, you ask for help, and then you just find a way to just do it yourself too.
Let me just quickly add one thing there. Everything, amen to what they said. This is a more practical, just one small step. And I really want to say that, especially to people who have young children, and especially if you're just starting, it's not that fashionable now, but set a bedtime for your children. Like, set a bedtime. And when I say set a bedtime, if I can go overboard, don't set it at 8:30. Like, 7:30, there are a lot of people who feel like, no, we're powerless, they just don't go to bed. No, actually, you can, if you start it on time. We started with our children well before they were 1, whilst they were still breastfeeding, right? Put them just constantly. But I think sometimes we give up so easily because there's the initial pain and stress that comes in. The child is crying, so we just carry the child and just watch the TV. And before you know it, they are 1, 2, and they just don't have that rhythm. And you've just literally accepted that your children are just going to be around. So by the time, honestly, I'm careful here because I don't want to put us up as model parents, but on this one, like by the time your children are 1.5, you just say, okay, it's time to go to bed. They just go. And in fact, what even happens, I remember the first time, I think one of our kids, they went, did a sleep, 2 of our kids, they went, did a sleepover somewhere, and it was like almost 10. Our own children just started sleeping. Just because they couldn't. So you can build that in. Literally, our children we have it's going to be 10. They're almost 10 and 6. I'm not joking. Holiday. When is their bedtime? 8 o'clock. School time, their bedtime is 7:30. And we explain to them, apart from even, we say it's good for you. Your brain will be refreshed. Your brain will be refreshed and everything. So, and you build the whole rhythm. Because of that, they will have their shower at 5:30, between 5:30 and 6 o'clock. They will do their devotion, family devotion at 6, with either of us, 6 something. They have their dinner to 7, and then they can be with us up until 7:25 or 7:15. They even go and brush their teeth. We are come, let's pray. When it's 7:25, 7:30, off you go, 7:30. They're gone. And they just get used to it now. What that then does, if we, let's say, sleep at 10, the time has then been created. There's extra time there. But if you constantly just allow your children to invade and invade and invade, no wonder you feel pressure. So by the time they're even falling asleep, you two are falling asleep with them. And you're waking up at the same time. So you sow into it early, very early on. Until literally when they're breastfeeding, sow into it, and you reap the rewards after.
Thank you for those answers. We have the roaming mic going around. We'll take one question from the crowd, and then we'll go back to WhatsApp.
Both of them. Can we just take the 2 of them and then we can go?
Okay. You mentioned prayer, process, and practice. So, what would you say to a couple here or watching that have sat down, prayed, processed, practiced, and discovered that they don't have things in common? The 3 things in common. What would you say to them? Secondly, still like it, there's a lot of apprehension about marriage these days. So what would you say to someone who really loves the person they're in a relationship with, but have a lot of apprehension about marriage? Yeah.
So as Christians, we submit ourselves sometimes to a way of living, a style of living, and sometimes in preparation for marriage, it doesn't give a lot of room to probably get to know a lot about the other human being. And my question is, how do you manage something you discover about your partner in marriage? Maybe
Something that
you
is
don't
not
like.
something negative. Okay.
Yeah. Something like that.
I can take the first one because that's directly, and then we'll leave the other two to you guys. The way I'll answer it is somewhat cruel, but I'll be able to explain. What if you find out that you guys don't have anything? You don't have anything in purpose, right? After going through those three things, that there's nothing to unify. It's not possible. It's not possible for you guys to not come to some unified thing. Now, what is possible is that you may have gone through it for a while. You may have gone through them and you've not yet discovered. So it's a discovery. There's no doubt it's a discovery. It's not like, oh, let's sit down, let's dedicate this weekend to discovering it. It's like when people talk about their gifts, the gifts that the Spirit has given them, over a period of time, and sometimes it sort of changes. So this one thing I would say to that couple is patience. Yet another P, right? Right? So patience. There should be patience. Don't put pressure. I'm on the road. Ah, my God. Yeah. But there shouldn't be, I think there shouldn't be that pressure. It's like, if this will be wrong. We are meant to be multiplicative. We need purpose. We can't find our purpose. It's finished. Maybe we're not meant to be together. No. There's no need. You're married. God brought you guys together. God will show you that purpose. Because for me, it's almost like somebody saying, I don't think I have a purpose for living. Now, I would agree that that person at this moment has not discovered it. And there may be difficulties for why they've not discovered it. But I don't know anybody that God has created that doesn't have any purpose for living, particularly if they're Christians. So what I would encourage is patience without pressure. And then with that, do it again. Just do them. Then, that is pray, process, they may not come to something. But then they may even find something that they individually are good at. They've come, okay, fine, let me be the one to encourage. And then you can then start to discover that, I didn't think that I was called to that, but, my wife would never have said, in fact, it's not that she would never have said, she said she never wanted to be in any form of ministry. She didn't want, right? She didn't, we asked Tosi about church planting, and she told me she was never going to marry a pastor. Right? For all of the singles that, they said the one guaranteed way you get married to a pastor is by saying, I don't want to marry a pastor. He's going to be a pastor, He's looking behind, he's you just get married, God allows you to get married, then the person now gets the call. So my point is, as she opened herself up and she saw some of these things, all of a sudden she now opened up and found that she has ministries of counseling and all of those kinds of things. So I'm saying, if you don't have the pressure and you have the patience there and you still go through the process, eventually you guys will just see that, there are places that we do coalesce in. So that's what I'll say to that. And then you may, if it gets to a certain point, you can decide to see people who are, spiritually mature for counseling after you've gone through some time, and they may be able to help you guys with that process as well. I think the other question was if you discover something. John's question, yeah.
The one about discovering something after you've married, and I think Pastor Femi had also said I think you chipped in something when he asked them. No,
That
before
negative,
patience.
that is, you discover something
negative. Okay,
Yes.
maybe before I move into something negative, let me just say that my own experience taught me that no matter how much you think you know someone, when you marry them, you then get to really know them. You know, it's because, I mean, Chida and I went out from school, okay, and it was right from university we went out, but it was in the marriage that we started learning some things about ourselves. So that one is there. Then that question of discovering something negative, I don't think this is my personal opinion, right? I don't think it's helpful for anybody to try to tell you what to do if you discover something negative, and I'll tell you why. I think it will only build your fear. It won't help your faith. And every time you look into the future, there are only one of two ways to look at the future, faith or fear. So when I'm trying to get into a relationship with someone and I'm worrying about what I may discover, I think I'm pandering to my fears. And quite frankly, I don't think it's helpful. It's as good as asking myself, what if I have an accident tomorrow and lose a limb? What if I lose my job? What if I die? There are so many negative things I can think about, but I don't pay attention to those things. So I think I would recommend that people should get into a relationship when the opportunity presents itself. People should listen to their heart. People should follow, some of the things that you've learned in church, things you've read in books, things you've seen in the Bible. But while going through all that, your relationship is not still different from your life or faith, And if you sit still, I have friends, people I started life with. We got our jobs at the same time. Up till now, they're not married. And the only reason, one of them still comes to my house. The last time he came to my house, Don was passing, and he looked at her and said, "Shay, don't even try it." I'm not about to be Ojukwu and Bianca. It's just not going to happen. So my point is that he has reasons, loads of reasons why he hasn't taken that bold step. There's one book we read in church. Quite frankly, I think I recommend that book. Just do it. The reason we dilly-dally around choices is because we have choices. Our grandfathers knew who they would marry. You are Mr. Okafor's son. We don't marry the Okekes. We marry the Okoronkwas. It's clear. They knew the jobs they will do. We are farmers. That place, that is your land, your portion of the land. The guy knew his life. He's not asking for the will of God. The reason we're asking for the will of God is because there is Cynthia, there is Oyibo, for those, there's black. People you have a myriad of choices. That's why you're thinking the will of God. And I'm not saying don't think the will of God. I'm just saying you need to sit back and ask yourself, what is playing a role here? Is your choices. The reason you don't know what job to take is because you have two jobs. If you have no job at all, and somebody calls you to come and take a job, you'll be praying for the will of God. You just go in and do the job. So sometimes we actually delay ourselves. I think that what makes a marriage successful, this is my personal opinion again, I think that what makes a marriage successful is more of the things you do in the marriage than the person you got married to. It's more of what you did, not because you got it right. Abraham's I hope I'm not taking Abraham's son Isaac married a wife that God found for him. That marriage was so bad that when the father is talking to his son, the wife is eavesdropping. Jezebel was a wicked woman, married a man. That marriage was so good that the husband is frowning. The wife is asking him, who is pissing you off? I'll fix it. So it's not really about who you marry sometimes, So my brother, that somebody just marry the person. Leave all this. Once you are ready and she's ready, marry the person. Leave all these fears.
And okay, let me just add. Okay, let me just chip in for the people who are already in the marriage and who just they wake up and say, this is not what I bargained for. So I think life is about perceptions and expectations. So sometimes we form expectations, we want expectations to go a particular way, and we have perceptions about certain things. But if we begin to look at, like Solo said, if we see life as faith or fear, and we say to ourselves, okay, this is who I have married, and I am discovering certain things, the first thing I should be asking myself, is this my expectation, as in personal expectation? Is it getting in the way? Is it making me maybe unrealistic or immature? You know, a lot of us read Mills and Boone when we were growing, so we had an idea of, you know, the kind of, everything just seemed like fiction. And some people still go into marriages having some, will I use the word fantasy, like, you know, so they marry a beautiful woman or a very handsome dude and discover that she snores or he snores, or you know, all kinds of stuff. And because they have certain kinds of expectation, all of a sudden they start becoming unhappy and it begins to affect them. So first of all is to fix the expectation and say to yourself, this is life. This is life. Nothing is perfect. If I walk with this person, if it's something we can talk about, if it's an annoying habit, if it's something we can discuss, then if it is getting in the way, then there may be need maybe to talk to a counselor. But I think it's nothing that cannot be handled, yes.
For me, I had the second question. Let me just quickly start with that. And that's why, yes, apprehension. There is actually a healthy form of apprehension. And I actually think the apprehension works in two ways. There's a positive form and there's a negative one. I think there are some people that, like I was describing in the talk, they've gone into marriage with their eyes closed. You know, I was recently talking with somebody who just went ahead and just got married, absolutely no advice from any of the people they could. And I asked the person 3-4 questions. The person was basically informing me that they're about to get married. I asked the person 3 or 4 questions on things. And the person was basically telling me I'm going to get married in like 3-4 days. So I asked the person 3 or 4 questions. And all the answers the person gave me, you know, I was just like, man, I didn't tell the person this. I said in my mind, I just have to be in prayer for this person, because every single thing this person is telling me is this marriage is going to be a disaster in just a year or two. Like, now, as I said, I'm praying against that. There's nothing that makes me, when I see people who are trying to get married and I feel it's going to be a disaster, that is one of those prayers where I'm saying, God, I want to be 120% wrong. Because it gives me no joy whatsoever for that, right? But when I just felt the person was getting married and going about this thing in all the wrong ways. So I want a positive apprehension of marriage in that regard. But obviously there is also the negative apprehension. And I think it fits into a lot of these things that Chidima and Solomon are saying. There is something about an unrealistic expectation. And we have it in so many other aspects of our lives. It is also the one where we expect, you know, people that have entered into our workplace, they are new, they are fresh, they are not experienced. You expect them to be experts in spreadsheets, you expect them to be experts in presentation, and you just say, am I not paying you? You know, that kind of thing. So as though that would, you know, sometimes you want your children to just immediately get certain things like, am I not paying huge school fees? You don't want your children, because you've been taking them to church and you've been doing devotions, you don't think your children, it's everybody else's child that will sin, no? But your own child can never actually sin. So there is this sense of false expectation, and also how people change is also there's a false expectation in that. And so I think when we get into marriage, a lot of people are going with false expectations. You can never get a perfect marriage, you can never get a perfect person, but you have people that you can grow into health with. You can grow into health with. So that's why I like this sort of, there is an aspect of faith you still need. Yes, you enter, honestly, it's like, Jacob, you are not Rachel, you are Leah, right? Like sometimes you just wake up like, I didn't know. And if we do it the Christian way, and this is why a lot of people say, how can we not have sex before marriage? How can I not test this? How can I not know what this person's habits are? And so they say, because I don't want surprises when I get into the marriage. So the Christian one, if you put those boundaries, listen, there are things that you're bound to find out that you're like, I didn't expect. So faith is important to say, the God that has brought us together, there's a sense in which the God that has brought us together will see us through. If you have that, as my wife likes to say, it's not love that sustains the marriage, it's commitment that does. This isn't to say you should then stay in a marriage that is abusive, but it's saying that if you are committed in a particular way, that commitment brings the love that transforms. Jesus is committed to us despite our failures. He's committed to us despite our sin. And it is that commitment that Jesus has for us that eventually transforms us into a bride that will be without spot or wrinkle. So if we say we are committed here, that commitment should then drive us lovingly to then say, here's where I need to adjust. Here's where I need to speak up. Right? Love doesn't always mean just taking all the crap. It actually means sometimes saying, I will not take this crap again. Right? Here's where we need to say we are going to go and speak to this person. You are not coming. Me, I'm going to tell them. I'm going to open our marriage. And I'm opening our marriage because I want our marriage to work. So, but somebody who is not committed can just give up easily. You see what I mean? So I think if we start having marriages that we can show people and say, look at this, look at that. For every time people say, oh, marriage is getting da-da-da-da-da, all marriages are breaking up, I always say, but I know this person, and I know this person, and I know this person, and I know this person. So we can do that, and then second, I can say, you know those people that are there, right? Let them tell you about how their marriage was 6 years ago. Look at where they are now. So we must always keep holding on examples, positive examples, and also realistic examples, being honest that people did not start where they were, for people to combat that narrative that then says because of this and this, they wouldn't want.
So the next question is coming again from our WhatsApp, and it's coming from an anonymous person. It says, how do you maintain the energy between spouses to avoid boredom and all? Anonymous. How do you maintain the energy between spouses to avoid boredom and all?
How do I even answer this now? When I was a single person, I was very suspicious about marriage because I thought, probably after the first 1 or 2 years, I was telling someone this a few days ago that I'd basically sentenced my life I sentenced myself to a life of boredom or a marriage of boredom. I was like, I don't think any good thing can come out of marriage, really. I mean, what is there to do? Just raise up kids and then just live a boring life. But I think it's intentionality, really. You know, part of what Femi was saying in his talk was, you know, looking for, is it common gifts? And looking for the things, common passions, the things that brought you together in the first place. And then working on those things. Watch movies together. Look for the things that you love to do together. I don't know how else to.
To just add to what, to a large extent, like you said, intentionality. So people think that because we fell in love with each other, we are crazy about each other, that if you just do nothing, and because maybe you heard a voice from heaven saying, this is your beloved husband, marry. So you think that if you do nothing, it just flows. So you have to just be intentional. You have to be deliberate. Marriage is hard work. It is not the hard work from the angle of, because sometimes when people paint marriage, they almost paint it to seem like you are going to sentence yourself to death. Like it was on Sunday. We were driving from church, and I saw this billboard from a church, and it says, you can be happy in your marriage. And so I said to Sol, I'm like, is that not a norm to be happy in your marriage? The other one should be, don't be unhappy in your marriage. And then he says to me, he said, babe, see, the norm now is that people are unhappy. So the abnormal one is for people to be happy. So I think it's, and then, especially in the church, you hear things like pray against the spirit of divorce, pray against the spirit. So there is always one spirit, that is attacking marriages. But I think it's the fact that if couples are not careful, they can actually drift. They can drift apart, and oftentimes it can be very subtle. So it may not be because there is a major problem, but maybe they are fighting. Some couples don't fight, but that doesn't mean they are intimate. So they just drift gradually. They just become two roommates living together. So for the energy to be sustained, you have to be in each other's lives. But that doesn't mean you don't give room for space. Because I still think it's unhealthy when couples think that because we are in love, my friend shall be your friend. What I like will be what you like. So if Solo likes Man U, I must love Man U. You may like your club and I may like mine. But the important thing is, if he really likes football, I may just begin to like football so that we can have shared passions, have shared things, be in each other's lives, talk, communicate, gist. Because gist does not have to be something serious. Oh, baby, sit down, let's plan the budget for 2022. Or where would the children... Gist can be as silly as gossip. And I think humor helps every marriage. When I was for me, a man that has a sense of humor, I think is maybe number 2 on my list. So my husband has it. Don't mind that he's always quiet in church. Number 1 is he has to have a good head on his shoulder. So that sense of humor really, really puts energy in your relationship and in your marriage. It doesn't give room for boredom, because if there is humor, there is play, there is laughter, you just have fun together.
Sorry, I wanted to add something which she said that I was going to emphasize that, which is communication. Communicate about any and everything. Even when the person is not there, text. He can be in the living room, you are in the room, text. Text, talk, before you go to bed, just gist, gossip, communicate. It keeps the energy alive, really. That's just...
I think I'm in 100% agreement.
So I just wanted to reemphasize that the Bible is against gossip.
But we gossip a lot.
Just to, I mean, agreement with everything that Tosin and Chido have said, and just to also add, and I speak as a man. People go through phases in life, and sometimes I think that the fear of dislocating makes us embrace so much that we then destroy the relationship. We are afraid to dislocate, and then we hug so tight. And in hugging so tight, we strangle ourselves in that hug, So we have to create that sense of balance, People will go through phases. One time, Chido complained that I wasn't... In school, I used to write a lot of love letters.
It took me days to read them.
Yeah, I'll spend weeks writing them, then I'll post them.
Songs of Solomon.
Then... But I said to her, that was the only thing I had then. I had no money to give to you. So the only thing I had was telling you about the future, okay? But now, the future is here, and I'm working to sustain that future. So don't expect those letters. So it comes back to the question of expectations. As people make turns in life, some things drop off. New things come in. And we must be willing to know that the people we've entered into relationships with are changing. Even our health will change. One of my favorite things is to have old friends. I have friends of 70, 65. And I go to them. Why? Because I'm going to end up where they are in a matter of years. So I can't speak for ladies or Chido, but the point is we are all changing. And as we change, we should make room for that change and not strangle ourselves in the relationship. And we should just stop being afraid of dislocating. You don't even know when this time passes. We are 19 years plus. Quite frankly, we woke up every morning, we gist. In the night, we gist. In the middle of the night, babe, are you awake? Are you awake? She's awake. We gist. You know, and we don't even know when time passes. You know.
Very, very, very incisive answers. And we have one more question to go. Just one more question. Please, one more question. She was pleading.
So I think some of the questions have been answered really. So first, my question was, what do you say to somebody who wants to tick all the boxes, like before they get married, right? I mean, but that has already been answered because you can't really have any perfect marriage in the sense. But I think in the sense of finances, and they're like, I don't want to suffer. I don't want anybody to suffer me. So I want to really it's true. I mean, so I want to. I mean, I'm on the table of let me get it all sorted, and then can now. I don't know. I don't want to suffer last. That's what I mean. So what do you say, to from that perspective of finances? Yeah.
You want to be a baby girl, have you? Baby girl for life. There are 4 things that are most important. These 4 things must be settled. To choose your life partner, to start off well in terms of your marriage, there are just 4 things, 4 questions. 1, do you believe the same way? Are you both Christians? If one is a Christian and a Muslim should not get married. One else, please. That rebellious side. Don't think that because it's cold in here, there's fire that can come out from this. Elijah. These are the days. All right. So 1, you must believe the same way. 2, you must believe in the same thing, and 2, you must believe in the same thing the same way. Right? It's hard for somebody who is, and I'm not trying to denigrate anybody here, but somebody that goes to a Sele church and then somebody that is high Roman Catholic. They are both Christians, but they will have problems. Who is going to go to whose own church, all right? 3rd thing is they should deeply love each other. They should deeply love each other. So believe the same thing the same way. Deeply love each other. 4th thing, there's always 1 or 2 big questions that need to be settled. Important questions. Always 1 or 2 big important questions. For instance, I want to live in Germany. I want to live in Nigeria. I feel I'm called to live in Germany. I feel I'm called to live. You have to settle that question. Another one. I've always envisioned that my mom is going to come and live with us in this house once we get married. No, my mom, do you understand? Those are things. Yeah, that's it. But you see, the money thing, it's something we have to really be careful with. I often ask people, and then say, so how much? How much is it? You say, so that I don't suffer. Let me tell you, if you say, let's say you are earning 400K, and you'll be like, 400K will get me a house in Aja. When I was married, I wasn't married, I was living in Aja, but now, Aja traffic, I want to live at least in Agungi forward. So, Oga, how much do you earn? Okay, he earns 800K. 1.2 million every month. That's good. We get to Agungi. Oh, sorry. Plus our own. Oh, no, it's her. Oh, sorry, I heard that thing. They said the man's money belongs to both of them. The woman's money belongs to her. No problem, you still live in Aja with that. So, but let's assume they are into the 1.2 million. Let's assume they are into the 1.2 million. Okay, so you move to Agungi. First problem. Once you move to Agungi, then you now realize, Agungi is not like phase 1. And there's flooding inside there. You'll be like, what kind of suffering is this now? Flooding and all of those things. Your taste changes. Your taste changes. So this idea of what is suffering. Second, and this is not a curse or anything, this is just reality. He loses his job. So now what do you do? you now blame him for losing his job. You now blame him and say, you have brought me to suffer, you have brought me to suffer, you have brought me. So it isn't, in some sense, it's not realistic. And then the third thing about assessing that stuff is this. Oh, we forgot that our help and our source comes from the Lord. It's now from someone's bank account not to suffer. And don't get me wrong, I am not trying to dismiss the place of money, finance, and all that. Me to suffer, I don't like to suffer. You understand? And at the same time, it's funny that Jesus puts a parable about how people use money, and says that if you don't know how to manage this world's resources, who shall give you a greater resources to manage? And it is in the sense of that parable, it says you cannot serve God and mammon. So on the one hand, he's saying, yes, there is an importance. And yet, with that importance, be careful that your heart doesn't slip into idolatry. And the way your heart doesn't slip into idolatry is to say that, no, God, you are my source. And if you are my source, then the person that I have seen in these categories that really do matter, I'm going to put my trust in you and go with that person. And how you were my source, you'll be that person's source, and both of us will be our source, and we will be happy irrespective. Right? My wife and I in a more comfortable position today, but it wasn't always like that. It really was always wasn't like, and you need to sit down with them to actually tell you their own story. It's a wonderful story. But honestly, I never thought, we weren't trying to make that decision based on that. Now, of course, as we then come together, and this is where I used to tell a lot of people who are hesitant, particularly guys, hesitant to get married. Why? Because they say we don't have this amount of money. They don't have that whole blessing thing I was talking about. It wasn't just because I was preaching or everything. I have seen it. I tell people, get married first and see whether there's no blessing that comes. I don't know how to explain it. But even he's speaking, he'll tell you. He's one of them. Like there's something that happens. I'm not trying to, it's not a promise, it's not a whatever, but people that are united, all of a sudden you're able to work better, you're more focused. And somehow there's something that happens. Now again, it's not a guaranteed, because I don't want you to get married because of that. Like, it's such a poor way of thinking. For ones that are saying we don't want to suffer, it's a poor way of thinking. But again, once you come together, when you trust that it was that Lord that brought you together, then it's okay, we are now in your mercy. Help us. We were happy when we didn't have what we have, and we are still happy now. And by God's grace, if He takes some of it or all of it away, it's in His hands that we are in. I'm not saying that won't bring in some difficulty. It will bring in. But you see, Christians are the ones that should know that we can be happy in the midst of plenty or want. Paul says, I have learned the secret of contentment. I have learned how to abase or to abound. That's where our hearts should be. If we go down the road of trying to say, this guy doesn't have that much or something, right? And you go for the one that has. I have seen so many people, this is what Paul talks about in 1 Timothy 6, that talks about the love of money, and says so many people have pierced themselves, right? Because of the love of money, they have entered into destructive ways. That should never be our portion. And finally, I'll just say this. I know one or two people, even in this church, honestly, like, I've even told some single people, I said, part of the reason why, I'm not saying this is the only reason, but I said part of the reason why you are single is that I've seen godly people, that real godly people, the kind of people that are answering the bigger questions, but they don't put on the right shirt. Their English is not as great in the way you want. He doesn't smell as good and everything. And that's why you keep going for the ones that have that profile, and you keep wondering why you're always heartbroken. Marry that one that isn't kidding, and then touch him up. Because I've seen people that have moved, and honestly, literally 4 times, their income went 4 times in 2 years. And now they are looking so good, and then the other ones are like, hey, how did we miss this one? Let our hearts be on God. He's our source, all right? Amen.
I just want to add one thing to all that Pastor Femi has said. I just want to say that this doesn't take away the place of making sure that the person you get into a relationship with is a responsible person.
Responsible.
Because I think that's the biggest problem. And the problem of irresponsibility is sometimes it can mask behind prosperity. So because the guy has a job today, if he loses that job, he doesn't want to stand up anymore.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to try anymore. He marries Netflix that you paid for. When you complain, he will beat you up. When your bosses call you, he will claim they're calling you because you're having an affair with them. He becomes your problem in life. So, and it can be the other way around as well. So I think that point of responsibility, just that I should bring it in. That's what you should watch out for.
Yes.
Applause for our high. Yes, you can go, please. Thank you very much. Another round of applause, please.
Thank you. Thank you. So, have we had an amazing evening? Lots of fun. And what else? Food. What else? Knowledge, learning, and everything. Tedo, can you permit me? I would love to just recognize a couple here.
Please do.
They don't think I'm coming to them, but I just want to. Bible says, give honor to whom honor is due. This is a married. Good evening, ma. Good evening, sir. How long have you been married, sir?
Almost 40 years.
Wow. You are going to 40. In fact, we didn't have a category for you. In fact, the category is, respect, sir. And respect, ma. Thank you so much. In fact, when I saw them seated there, I said, we can't be having this kind of event and not acknowledge them for everything we've been saying here. 40 years, that's 4 decades. It's a lot. Some of us were not even born then. So, Tedo, what else do we have?
It's time to close.
Yes.
But before we go, do you have any information there?
Yes, so we are going to be inviting everybody to our Sunday service. We have Sunday service physical and online. And then the sermon for today's Married in Lagos season 3 will be uploaded on our YouTube channel. And please, when you get it, just share, even the question and answers. So we would like you to follow us on our social media platforms, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, to know more about City Church. And please don't miss out on any of our services. And then you can check up on all the resources that we have there. And then that way you also know our next events that we'll be holding.
As sad as this is, as painful and sad as this is to say, it's time to go. So before we go, please remember that we have a party after party. So say hello to someone that you don't know. Don't be in a rush to go. If there's some more drinks outside. I don't know if there's more food. So it was nice. It's a pleasure having all of you. And from me and Chido, I want to say thank you.
And good night.